Watch it out. We're ready now? All right. Good afternoon. It's 1 p.m. on Wednesday, July 1st, 2026, and this special meeting workshop of the Sandpoint City Council is now called to order in council chambers at 1123 West Lake Street, Sandpoint, Idaho. For the record, I'm Mayor Jeremy Grimm presiding. Also present are City Council President Deb Rule, Councilors Joe Espiro, Kyle Schreiber, Pam Duquette, Joe Tate, and Joshua Torres. Under the city's adopted code of ethics and civility, as the presiding officer, I am to identify law enforcement personnel serving as Sergeant of Arms for this afternoon's meeting. Today, we have Police Lieutenant Michael Arney and Stephen Chamberlain in the room. Thank you so much, gentlemen. For members of the public in attendance, if you wish to speak during this afternoon's public comment time regarding the RV park design update, please complete a comment sign-up form and hand it to staff at the back of the table. Please note that we will not have general public comment time at this meeting today. Regular public comment time will be at our next regularly scheduled council meeting on July 15th, 2026 at 5:30 p.m. in this room. We are very honored today to have some special guests. And today we have our local Girl Scouts who would like to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Ladies, take it away. On your cue.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Very
Thank
much, girls.
you.
That was well done. Very well done. Next, the council will begin their budget workshop day 2 to review fiscal year 2027 revenues and expenditures for multiple funds and departments. At this time, I will yield the floor to Finance Director Sarah Linz.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilman Schreiber.
I do see a couple people in the audience. I was wondering if we couldn't rearrange the agenda to get public comment sooner so that they don't have to sit through our whole budget.
Well, the public comment at this meeting is scheduled for the RV park as was publicized. This is not a regular meeting, so it's a condensed meeting, so we do not have public comment time. This wasn't prearranged or contrived. It is simply to provide an efficient business meeting.
So maybe we could move number 8 to before number 2.
We possibly could, Councilman Schreiber, but I believe Director Welker is going to be presenting a fair amount of information on the layout of the RV park. But I defer to council. If there's such a motion, we could certainly proceed that way.
So then we can jump right into that. They were planning to come down until about 3, but if they're available, we could do that right away.
Thanks, Jason.
Yeah.
They need to be involved in that conversation as well.
So, yeah, we'll try to move number 8 up once the project manager and engineer come on down. So, until then, Sarah, Finance Director, Sarah Linz, please take it away.
Good afternoon. I hope you guys all brought your packets from last week. We'll be continuing on with that. And all right. We're on day 2 of the budget workshop, and I wanted to quickly go through the budget calendar, where we're at and what is left for the budget adoption. We are in as you can see here, the highlighted or the circle or the box. We are in the budget workshop. At the next meeting on 7/15, we will be looking to get the approval for the publishing of the public hearing notification, and that is a maximum budget. At that point, at the next meeting on 8/5. On August 5th, that's when at that point you guys can talk about moving around things if you want to, and go more depth into that too. And any other questions, similar like we did last time, if you have any questions in between, just send them to me and the director, and we'll get them incorporated into the budget workshop. And then last but not least, on 8/19 is the actual public hearing and the adoption of the appropriation ordinance. day two is, this is what we're going to cover today. We're going to do strategic plan or have, Fonda is going to give a update on the strategic plan. We'll go through the citywide revenues in one time, and then we'll go through special revenue funds. And then also the park general fund, the remaining general fund that we have not done yet. Do you want to,
Want me to go?
Yep.
Sure. So I have with me a copy of the condensed strategic plan. You remember we spent almost 2 full days together, 14 hours of work and conversation. What I'd like to do, it's in draft form, is just before you leave here today, everybody take a copy with you, review it, look at it, call me or email me if you have any questions or concerns or adjustments. And then what we will do is put it on the agenda for the next council meeting for adoption. So if you see anything you want changed, my preference would be that we can talk about it first, and then you can bring that suggested change with you to the next meeting. We'll figure out whether there's a consensus of council for the, if so, I'll note that, and then we can still adopt it with the recommended changes that council supports. So I just wanted you to know it's here. I want to give it to each of you before you leave. You'll have plenty of time for review, and then hopefully you can adopt it at the next meeting. Does that work for everyone?
Council,
Excellent.
everyone understand? Great. Thanks so much for all your work on that, Fonda. It looks like that will move us quite quickly. We just gained like 25 minutes. For World Cup fans, the US plays, I think, at 5. Please no spoilers if we're still in the meeting. Anyways, moving right along. Citywide revenues and one-time money, Sarah?
All right, so we'll jump right into this presentation. The questions from the first workshop, I think I only got the 2 that Pam had asked when we were at the very end of the workshops, and I didn't get anything else. So again, send those if you do have any, and we'll do it in the next, I'll incorporate that into the next meeting. But budget's not used, where does the money go? That was, I guess, a high level question you had. What happens to it? We talk about the one-time money. And that basically is, we have a fund policy, a reserve policy that is for one-time resources. And I highlighted E on here. That's the result of budget surplus derived from temporary expenditure savings. That is that when budgets are not used, then they go into one-time money. Now there is a caveat to that. Now revenues also need to be coming in with where they were at. To make that one-time money, because if you just because you have budget savings and the expenses doesn't mean that you're necessarily going to have one-time money if you don't have the revenues coming in as well. So that's where they go, and they are to be used per this policy in the future. And then the next question you had was also on change orders and where does the money come from? I wanted to use 2 examples on this. One was the SCADA project that we had. That was a water and wastewater project that we had, and we came back a couple of times, I think, with change order, at least one that I remember. So typically during the budgeting process, and I'm just going to use rounded numbers, was for let's say we budget $100 for a project, and we sometimes we'll have one contract for that project. Sometimes we have multiple contracts for that project, especially at Public Works. If we have engineering and we have construction and we have multiple things going on. So usually when we have the budget and then we have those contracts, it's not for that full amount of that budget. Sometimes it is, sometimes it's not. If there's a change order, let's say that the budget is $100 and we have the $80 was the contract. We still have $20 left in that budget. So if a change order comes back, then we can use that because it's budgeted. Now, if there isn't any more money left in the budget, that's when a decision needs to be made of one, are we going to proceed forward with that? And then we would need to look for the budget elsewhere. So the SCADA one was a great example. There was not. And so what we were able to do is use other project budgets and not do that project or not do as much of that project and use that budget within that for that other project. So that is one example. The other one was a JER. I know that one we had several change orders that came back for that one. That one was, again, too, that we had budget was much greater than what that contract was. And in addition, we had revenues that were coming in for the interest that was on that that, basically a donation that was sitting in interest was earning. And so that's where that would have come from, or where it came from. So change orders typically, in the packet and the staff report should have where that money is coming from, especially if it's not in the budget. If it's over budget, then it needs to be saying that to you guys, so you guys know, because that's what you guys are agreeing to, is that, yes, we're going to use this budget instead of, for this project. So does that answer the change order question? Okay.
Good. Thanks, Sarah.
Thanks.
And I wanted to put in this use of one-time, I have this later in the presentation as well. We'll get into the one-time monies that are in this year's budget. I wanted to throw this in here as well. So last year, I know we pushed the budget workshops sooner than they had ever been held in the past. And I just wanted to make sure that you guys were all aware of that. We're still waiting for information, property tax information for the final new construction rules, and also the final taxable valuations. Those do not come until the end of July and the beginning of August. So what you have in here is an estimate, and it will change but when we get these numbers in here. Wanted to go back to the one page that I always like to highlight and go through is your one snapshot page here. So last time we went through all of the proprietary funds, all the purple. We've done all the expenditures and presented on all of those. And then on the general fund, the green, we've gone through most everything besides the CPD, the Community Planning and Development Admin, and the building and planning. So of the green part, that's what's left to do. And then also all of the special revenue funds, all the orange we'll be covering today. And then right now we'll be going into depth on the revenues, mostly of the general fund. The other funds are the water, sewer, and garbage are user-based, so they are charged for usage. So those ones are, I don't really have a whole lot of slides on those ones. We're going to be really digging into the revenues on the general fund. This is a snapshot of the sources of budget or of revenues that come into the city. And this is a total across all the different funds. So you can see here the one I will point out that we've been pointing out last week or last meeting as well as the bond proceeds here. That's the big driver this next year of why this large increase in the budget of $30 million. And then I will also send this and the other slide out because all the numbers here behind it, I'm not going to go into depth into all these numbers, but then you guys can have it and you can dig into it too if you have any more questions on that. This is I wanted to point out the beginning cash. So this is the one-time money that is being spent. You can see here the general fund is we've got $3 million, a little over $3 million budgeted this year for one-time money and the beginning cash. And then also the other funds as well. But most of this is all for projects. Then now we did dig into the general fund. So of this here, you can see the majority of our increase in the general fund is this intergovernmental for the general fund, and that is SURA is our Sandpoint Urban Renewal. I have a slide also on that later too of the detail of what that is. But that is the biggest increase this year for our general fund revenues. And again, the numbers behind everything here. This is a different, this is the first time I've put this slide in here. What this is showing is the different departments and what their revenue sources are. You can see the intergovernmental right there, the large one there is mostly street projects. And again, the numbers are behind it right here. I'm going to leave it on here. So a lot of the revenues, they are specific for certain things. So for example, the streets, the intergovernmental, the $10 million right here for that is coming in from SURA for a street project. So they are identified and they are specific to a certain area. The ones I have highlighted on here are the property taxes, the intergovernmental, and then also the investment earnings. Those are not Those are basically, I like to think of it like if you have two people working in the same household and you have a budget, you don't say who is paying that, and you have commingled money. You don't say whose money is paying for that car. It's all the money is paying, both money is going to pay for the car. So that's why I have this highlighted, because really this could be, you could say that 1.3 is actually over here in paying property taxes. So it's just, it's been dispersed out between this in these areas, but it's not specifically has to be used for that. For example, for police here, the property taxes are not levied for police in particular. They could be used for anything within the in this area. So I just wanted, that's why I have those highlighted there.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilman Trevor?
where would we find sales tax sharing from the state on this?
It is going to be 3 slides from here,
Okay, I'll hold off then.
maybe 4. And then this is another look at the, also from the, for example, the streets here is the intergovernmental as well. And then the numbers here, again, highlighted with the ones that can be entered, and it's just a different dicing of it. Again, I'm going to send this to you guys because this is a lot to take in. Here's the intergovernmental revenues. So this is going to be our SURA, our state sharing, liquor tax, state sales tax, highway, and Bonner County and the highway district as well. And you can see the large increase this year is related to the SURA projects.
So the orange, I believe, is highlighting the question that Councilman Schreiber had. Sales tax,
Falls under intergovernmental, thanks.
$1,025,000.
Here are the SURA projects. This is also, you can find this in your packet that you had. I think it was page. It is page 59. But these are the projects that are inside of the current 7 budget for next year that are proposed. This is the one that I do have, gave the caveat that we're still waiting for the final numbers to come in for the property tax levies. So I'm going to, once we get those, I'll also update these and put them in our thing. So here's the breakdown here. These are the 2 that I've highlighted here that we're waiting for. The new construction rolls and depending on what our the amount of our taxable, the actual valuation depends on the foregone that we are able to. It's a calculation, so basically just plugs into there. It'll be very close to this, but it could be. The new construction though is really based off of what I estimate, what based on our building permits that have come through and occupancies that we have, occupancy permits that we have issued, much higher than the last several years. So it could come in much lower than that, or again, it's really right now just we're kind of waiting for those numbers.
So Sarah, can you keep it there for a second, just for clarification? If we saw new construction, we would have 163,000 new dollars to work with this year from property tax. Is that what I'm seeing just above the red box?
135, yeah, 135 would be the new construction.
Yeah, and 163 from our legally maximum allowed
The
3%.
3%, yes. So yes, this budget does include that the 3%.
Mr. Mayor,
Go ahead, Councilwoman.
Sarah, would you explain foregone, please?
So foregone is in prior years, and you can see here in 23 and 24, what ours came from is if you are allowed to levy up to a certain amount based on formulas, and if you choose not to levy that amount, it basically goes and into foregone. And it's so then in later years you're able to recoup that or recover that. And that's what this is. So back in 23 and 24, one of the, with being a resort city tax, we, if you collect more money than what you budget for of that resort city tax, then you have to put that extra amount into foregone. So those 2 years where we collected more. So that's what we are now recouping that over the last several years of that basically where we did not levy for that in 23 and 24.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilman Schreiber?
is this the last year that we'll have access to that foregone, or is there more left?
No, that we have about I think about 150,000 more left of that. So you can do, so you have two choices. You can do, the House Bill 389, changed it. You used to be able to do 100% of the foregone the next year. And we, in the, prior to that, I think it was 2021 when the House bill went through, we would just basically recoup it in that next year. They limited it with the House Bill 389. You can do 1%, and you can use that for operating, and you can keep that. If you do 3%, you can do 3%, and you actually only, it's a one-time thing, and you lose it. So we've been doing the 1%, so that we can keep it in our, basically in our property tax levy.
And that's 1% of the total budget?
1% of the levied amount.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
This is estimated here, but this is the, I always like to throw this in here for the assessed property market values, the large increases that we've been seeing here. Again, the 2026 is estimated. I don't have those numbers yet, but I've thrown in a 2.75. I think that's what when I got my thing from the assessor, it said it was right around that is what they said overall, but that's for the county in general. So I don't know what the exact city is yet until we get those numbers.
And that will be at the end of July, you said?
That one comes in the beginning of August.
August.
The new construction comes in July. And this one, I always like to throw this in here too, as you can see how the economy and when the market, what it's doing and how it's changed over the last several long years.
Mr. Mayor,
Go ahead, Councilman Schreiber.
and just to clarify that last graph, when we, was that multiplied our property tax or property values by 3 times, that doesn't give us 3 times more budget.
No,
We still can
no.
only grow our budget by 3% maximum per year.
Correct,
Yeah.
correct. Yeah,
Just to clarify that.
yeah,
People looking at this graph might be a little confused.
yeah.
Good point.
But you can see here now, this is this is where you can see when your property values go up, then your thousands goes down. So then there's a direct correlation for the most part of this. You can see this is going up, and then now it's gone down because the property values are more than they were back 10 years ago. So again, this is 2026 is estimated. These are also estimated amounts here. So I will update these when we get these numbers so that when we do adopt the final budget, you'll have the actual amount that we will levy. Also in here, showing the down at the very bottom here, the property tax calculation for residential home. Again, this is estimated. I got this off, I just got the annual median off of just a Google search. And then with the increase in of 2.75 if it was to then to increase that amount, your tax amount would go up by $62 this year. Or next year, sorry, in 2027. And then this one is an interesting one because not everyone's increases or decreases in the same way. Your neighbors might go up more or yours might go down more. So what this is doing is actually showing you if yours, compared to last year, if yours actually went up or down, let's say it was a decrease of 6%, you'll actually pay, and this is showing here that you actually pay $89 or less taxes this year. And of course, if yours went higher, faster than the median change of the county, then you actually pay more of that tax. So this is just showing a step. And again, this is just the city portion of it, not the county portion. And this is the proposed resort city tax allocations of where we are proposing that they get spent out this year. 50% of that goes to the street reconstruction and sidewalk projects. We have 105 in there for the public transportation contract, with the remaining amount of that contract, the 140 up to 145 with the parking, the new parking meter fees. And then the resort city tax also covers part of our invasive species contract that we have. some park maintenance and police and fire, a small portion of those two as well.
Mr. Mayor,
Go ahead, Councilman.
I didn't get to stop you on the last slide with the property taxes. Just for clarification's sake, I'm hearing a lot of conversations. There's a misconception that the city of Sandpoint is the ones that collect all the property tax monies. And so can you expound on that a little bit just for clarification for the community?
So the county actually collects all of it, disperses it out to the jurisdiction.
So the county does and not Boise.
No, we don't. Yeah, they collect on everyone's behalf, and then they basically send us a check once a month, or all the jurisdictions a check once a month with
Awesome.
what they've collected.
That's great. Thank you. I've been hearing a lot that, oh, the city collects all the property taxes and we just get all the money and, okay,
Get lots of calls about that too. We
Yeah.
just pass them on to the county. Yes.
thank you.
Thanks. Mr. Mayor,
Councilwoman Duquette.
the invasive species, is Jason going to talk about that at some time, what that contract is?
I'm sure he can fill in when he covers CPD and parks, maybe.
Is that in your, I think it's in your budget also.
You're referring to the $40,000?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that's been in the budget every year. That's the manual removal of aquatic
Okay.
invasive
thanks.
species that we
Thanks.
hire a company to pull weeds instead of putting chemicals in
I
the
think I
water.
saw them the other day out there,
Yep.
actually.
Yep.
I appreciate that for sure.
All right, and I wanted to show, this one is important because.
Sarah, can I just interrupt you? Just put a little more color on the local option tax. So in light of the Edgewater Hotel not having any visitors, that's the most significant contributor, as I'm understanding it, to our local option tax. So the number you put in there, can you just talk about, so that's your estimate based on some guess of what we're going to see less the Edgewater?
Yeah, we haven't seen a trend of us actually decreasing over the last several years. So from 22, 23, 24, there's been a decrease in overall resort city tax. And then now, yes, with the hotel not being there, that was about 180 to 200,000 we collect from the hotel alone. So this is an estimate, and this is not including the street, the 50% that goes to streets. This is just the non-street dollars. So I wanted to show here of the estimate again of 26 and 27 of what we are expecting to hopefully get.
So the 436, you put that in our current year budget based on the uncertainty of the hotel, and you're just carrying that forward, yeah.
Yes, yep.
And so far, year to date, has that estimate been, that trend been holding, do you think?
The hard part is that most of our revenues come in the summertime.
Gotcha.
So yes, what we've collected less this year, about 15% less, but the majority again are over the summer. It will be coming right now. But it's I would say it's pretty close to what yes, the estimate is.
Can I ask you to go back one more slide to how we're proposed, the budget proposed? Just council members, I would just want to point out that, you know, in that column to the right, 111,000 for police and almost 40,000 for fire, 214 for park maintenance. That local option tax, lodging tax, is pretty important to our police. That's a whole position, more than a position, and fire as well. So hopefully we see some kind of relief for that in the future and that hotel opening back up.
Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead, Councilman.
Yeah, so with the state removing our control of short-term rentals, those also pay into this lodging tax, correct?
Yep.
And has there been any assumptions made in our calculations for loss of that revenue now that they won't have to register with the city anymore?
The majority of that comes through Airbnb, is what we get. So to me, no, if they are the ones collecting that and remitting it to us. So when they sign up with those agencies, I would say besides hotels and motels, I would say probably 90, more than that, probably 99% of it is coming in through one of those other agencies. Not
Okay.
people, there's not many at all in the past that actually rent out their own and collect their own and remit that on by themselves.
Gotcha.
So
Thank you.
hey, I hope we don't see it, but
It's a good point, Councilman Trevor. Well, it's dynamic. We don't know if we're going to get more short-term rentals or how
Yeah.
that's going to affect us. So,
I have not put an increase that we're going to see more of them.
Oh, I was thinking the opposite, that, you know, it could be pretty easy for a short-term rental owner to build their own website and not even tell us that they're operating in our city limits.
On that, yep.
thanks, sir.
All right, and again, moving on to this one. This is the major revenue changes for the general fund. Decreases are the resort city tax, about 300,000. Short-term rental permits, we moved that, so 22,000 there. And the state sharing liquor tax is down by 30,000 as well. The increase is the investment earnings. We have seen a trend over the last several years, and of higher interest rates, so I did increase that a little bit this year. And then parking, I've got 240,000 of estimated in there. And then also for the Sandpoint Urban Renewal District of Sura of 4.4 million dollars is the increase for that. Those are the major changes for the general fund.
Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead, Councilman.
And just to clarify, that SURA money is entirely for projects. It's not going to any sort of maintenance or
Correct.
city expenses. It's the downtown phase 3 and the Great Northern projects only.
Yep. In that, I think we had that back here, that listing right there, the listing of the art projects for the north has art projects, Great Northern, and the property purchase for the railroad in there. And then the downtown is the economic development market support art projects, and then downtown revital.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yep. All right, and then in your packet as well was a one-time, it was page. It is on page 58. But then this is also a listing of it. We went through several of these last time. I think the only one that is covered on this one is going to be the ADA planning for CPD, and the government building for the fire alarm is also in here. I think the rest of them we covered all last time. But I did want to point out that this is the one-time use money, and this is what how it's derived, and then also what per policy what it can be used for. And so all of the above items in here are in compliance with our policy. And then again, we covered a lot of these last time as well. This is the capital improvement plan, but Jason will have several of these that he has on his list as well here. So all of these ones of wastewater, streets, and water, we all covered last meeting. And today we'll be covering the park maintenance, park capital, and then also the general, the government, the city hall fire alarm as well. And with that, unless you guys have any questions, I will pull up the actual ClearGov budget book, and we'll start with the special revenue funds.
Sarah, have we had any updates from either AIC or the state on what the state's doing with revenue sharing? Do your numbers reflect the most recent estimates that Association of Idaho Cities has given us?
Yep. So when when I very first sent the email I sent out probably in March had the AIC budget book on it. Actually, it was May. Sorry, it was May. And in there they have estimates, and that's what we use for our budgeting. Is that when they but yes. So.
Any other questions for Sarah at this time, Council? All right. Council members, I noticed that we have our project manager and city engineer in the room now. We could jump to the agenda item 8 if you feel that that would allow the public to hear that and then speak on that, if it's your pleasure.
Could we see if that's why people are here?
Anyone here for the RV park comment? Oh, good. All right. Never mind. Keep proceeding. All right. Special revenues.
Right, so we're gonna start, let me pull this open. So we're gonna kind of do what we did last time, where we moved to the, in the budget book where you can find these at. We'll start with the fiber fund and the special revenues, and Holly.
So page 26 of your packet. All right, so fiber, the city of Sandpoint does operate a fiber utility enterprise. It not only serves city facilities, but it also serves as a leasing program to other fiber utility companies such as Fatbeam or Intermax. They can lease our fiber. So we have $50,000 budgeted in next budget to update our fiber business plan. We haven't visited that in some time and it's becoming dated. That effort is also to update our inventory. So again, we've not done a holistic inventory update on our fiber. So we've got a little bit of a backlog there that we're addressing. There's services. So we do not do our fiber work in-house. We contract out any repairs or splicings to a contractor. And then the final budget item for fiber is $20,000 to GIS services. We anticipate that as a result of updating our survey, we'll have to go and update our GIS. So we'll have a comprehensive inventory of all of our fiber that we have available and the conduit that we have available to lease and maintain our business program.
Council, any questions about the fiber optic network fund?
Thank you.
Thanks, Holly.
All right, we'll move on to the recreation fund and
Please, yes, thank you. So I'm prepared to highlight some of the changes to the recreation fund here and that stand out. So one, let's see what you have there. Let me find the right page in my.
Thank you.
I think it's page 27 in our budget books
Correct.
at the bottom.
So, actually, the first change I'm going to highlight is on page 28, and that's the increase by about 25% in our temporary wages for the recreation department. Just to highlight that we did recently hire a recreation coordinator, and that is the largest explanation for that increase from 38,370. Can you zoom in a little bit? I don't know if you can zoom in there, Sarah, but if not, page 28, about a quarter of the way down the page, our temporary wages for recreation employees are increased from 38,370 to 47,500. That does account for the addition of the recreation coordinator position, which we recently hired for. So just to point that out.
And Jason, that's going to allow us to continue to expand softball. What other?
The Recreation and Parks Commission identified about 5 programs that they want to bring back this year that we in the last year, and that includes softball, volleyball, swim lessons, and additional youth programming at the James Russell Sports Center. Pick up basketball in the winter, which we actually did bring back last year. I just kind of coordinated it myself with some volunteers. So some of the popular programs from the past, particularly around adult programming, softball being a good example. We have 130 participants in our softball league right now. Huge uptake. First time we offered it back. So this increase in temporary wages is enabling that. And just to back up a moment, the Recreation Fund for council members, if you're not aware, this is a fund that was established way back. I was under the impression it was from the early 1980s, but Sarah's research says it was around long before that, at least since the 1950s. And 4.5% of property tax collections of city residents are in this dedicated fund to support recreation for Sandpoint residents. So that generates between $250,000 and $300,000 a year that we put back into supporting recreation for city residents. Just to remind you of that.
Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead, Councilwoman.
Would you repeat those for me? Sorry. Softball, volleyball, swim lessons?
Yep, we're working with the swim instructor right now on the possibility of bringing back swim lessons. It's not scheduled at this time. Softball, volleyball, additional programming at the James Russell Sports Center, and open gym basketball. There might be 1 or 2 that I'm missing as well.
And so swim lessons have anything to do with finding lifeguards?
That wouldn't be necessary for swim lessons. It would be swim lessons offered by certified swim instructors.
Mr. Mayor.
Councilman?
But in the absence of lifeguards, that could be an alternative for families they could put their kid in a swim lesson, which then they would be watched by an instructor rather than needing a lifeguard.
Yep. My daughter did the City Beach swim lessons when she was 6. It's something we'd love to offer back to the community.
That's the hope, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, moving down that same page on page 28, you see an increase from $0 to $7,900 for rental of land and building. I bet you can guess what that's for. That's for gym space, for open gym basketball, for volleyball, and so on. We did not offer that last year, so we did not have it in the budget. So we are budgeting for the anticipation of offering some of those indoor sports that we do not own facilities to offer. such
Mr.
as
Mayor,
volleyball.
if I may,
Councilwoman?
Jason, is there any way you can highlight on there when you're talking about them? Because it's, when I try to find what you're talking about, it takes.
Sarah's
Maybe, I
driving
think,
that.
actually in Zoom, if Sarah, if you're sharing, isn't there a way to like turn your cursor into a highlighter so that when you move your cursor, we
Thank you.
can see it more
Like
clearly?
that helps. Otherwise, I can't
Got it.
find it to see what you're talking about.
Okay, I can,
You know,
you.
I don't know if I can do that in the,
Oh,
it is a website.
Yeah.
Maybe you'll have to show me.
That works.
just if the.
That
cur-
works, just like you're
Yeah.
doing right
Okay,
there.
perfect.
You can, that's helpful.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on, again, I'm focusing on just big changes from the previous year. On page 29 now, Sarah, we're gonna go to the capital improvements other than buildings for recreation. Now, this is interesting. You think, well, most of our capital is in our parks division, so why are we spending recreation dollars on capital improvements? We do have one or two, actually, two recreation facilities that are not managed under the Parks Division. They're actually managed under Recreation. That's the James E. Russell Sports Center. That's not what this is for. This is for the city shooting range up on Baldy Mountain Road. We have been awarded a $35,000, approximately maybe $30,000, I think with a $5,000 match grant to upgrade the insulation and sound absorbing panels in the ceiling of the shooting range. So that's what that $35,000 is for. Almost all of that is grant funded from the Idaho Department of Fish and Game.
There will be residents who are
Councilwoman.
happy. I'm sorry to hear that.
Happy to hear that?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
That you're doing that.
Oh, yeah, we've actually
We did not hear
had
it.
some
What's that?
neighbors up at the shooting range reach out and offer
Yeah, to not hear it.
support that effort.
Right.
They'll be very glad to hear a little bit less reverberation. And not to mention users of the range. A big reason for improvements to the sound absorbing panels in the ceiling there is actually not neighbors, but the users themselves. It's actually extremely dangerous to be in that range without really good ear protection because of the reverberation off the
Wow.
underside of the ceiling. It's extremely loud for the people using the range as well. So we hope to fix that. We expect to get federal approval for those grant dollars. We've received state approval, but federal approval is expected this fall. And we're hoping we can do the improvement over the winter when the range is closed. Might end up being next spring before we open in April.
Thank you.
Okay. On the same page, we move into the James E. Russell Sports Center facility. This is
Mr.
with-
Mayor, Jason, I hate to
Council
interrupt
President?
you. I just have a question relative to, is the budget portion of this meeting a workshop oriented situation where we don't necessarily need to be recognized? We can just openly
Oh,
ask.
sure, I was just trying to keep order.
Okay,
whatever-
I just didn't know if we were going that direction. Yeah, okay, thank you.
Okay. Just a couple lines down below the capital improvements other than building, we have temporary wages for the James E. Russell Sports Center facility. We're going from 58,000 to 85,000. That's a relatively large increase. That's not for the regular front desk staff that we employ. Rather, that is for expanded programming at the James E. Russell Sports Center. So we classify our tennis and pickleball specific programming under the JER section of the Recreation Division budget. So it's all recreation. JER lives under the umbrella of the Recreation Division. But with Ryan's great work over there, with the membership level that we're at now, there's increasing demand for more programs specific to the James Russell Sports Center. So that, for example, we have 3 college students, and Pepper Rickert herself, the state high school tennis champion, is working for us this summer, leading youth programs and actually doing a lot of adult programming as well. So that accounts for the wages that we pay those temporary employees to offer sports programs at the sports center.
Mr. Mayor.
Councilman?
Jason.
Yeah.
So this is only showing the expenses. It's not showing the incomes and or revenues as it were. So it looks like that's entirely coming out of property taxes, but in reality, you
Oh,
have
yeah.
user fees that are coming in to cover that.
Absolutely. So we have the recreation fund, which is I didn't look exactly, 250 approximately in property tax income.
Yeah, 256 is what we.
Yeah, and then the sports center itself generates another well, we're aiming for 220 or so. The sports center is expected to be self-funding this year, so expenditures that the sports center incur are expected to be covered by revenues that the sports center earns. And that, we had a lot of conversation about this last year. For the first year of its operation, the sports center required approximately a 50% subsidy. It wasn't performing at the level that it is today, and our monthly revenues were below the average expenditures of operating the facility, but we've now leveled that out. In fact, our peak winter revenue was something around $10,000 more than the monthly expenditures. So you could say the facility earned quite large profits throughout the winter. Now we've dipped a little bit below our average monthly expenditures. We're making around 13,000 a month right now, but that's not so much. And the average monthly expenditures are around $18,000. So we're a little bit below average expenditures right now, just because utilization is low during the warmer months. But throughout the year, we expect that facility to come pretty darn close to covering all of its costs, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's perfect. Thanks. And so this increase in temporary wages for expanded programming, that also comes with additional revenue
Also
of
creates
the
additional
users. Yeah. so
Exactly. Yep.
It's entirely likely that that additional expense is going to get offset by user fees.
Yep. So one example of programming that we're offering is tennis skills and drills, which I myself participated in quite a bit last year. The Sandpoint Tennis Association offered that free for JER members, and it was $10 for non-members to come participate in a 2-hour skills and drill session. STAs actually, they got a little burnt out, so they backed out. So we have assumed offering that program. Now we're employing coaches to do that program. So we're now charging members $10 and non-members $15 to participate in that program. And honestly, it's still a great deal because you get 2 hours of coaching in a small group. So it's still a very popular program. It's just a program that we're offering. So now we need to pay the instructors to do that program. We were very, very thankful for Sandpoint Tennis Associations basically volunteering to do that for most of last year, but we're happy to take it over.
Perfect. Thanks.
Yep. Okay. Very small item just to point out. Advertising, we're increasing from $500 to $2,000. That's on the top of page 30. Second line on the top of page 30, Sarah, right there. We found that our half-page ads in the Sandpoint magazine, not only did they look great, but we've heard that people saw them and came into the Sports Center because they saw the ads in the Sandpoint Reader. So that's, or not the Reader, but the Sandpoint magazine, which is twice yearly. So that $2,000 basically covers 2 half-page ads in the Sandpoint magazine, which, as you know, is all over town, and visitors to town pick that up at Schweitzer, down at the marinas, and it brings people in to either pay the $15 non-member fee or to get a 1-month membership, or in some cases sign up for their full year membership. So just keeping the public aware of this facility is very important for us. Okay, finally, always happy to point out decreases. Right at the bottom of the, let's see, where is it? I thought I highlighted all these on my page. So software. Okay, so software, recreation, Rec 1, team sideline, right towards the bottom of the James U. Russell section. We're going from $6,400 down to $2,400. That's because we have transitioned the Sports Center off of the Rec Track platform and onto Court Reserve, which is actually a much cheaper platform. That we did just find out a few weeks ago that is expected to increase, along with an optional service that Ryan is planning to sign up for that will allow us to run tournaments and leagues, ladder leagues, they're called, through the Court Reserve platform. So we do expect that to increase from $200 a month to $329 a month, but not a huge impact, and that more than covers its costs with the additional benefit that users enjoy of having that ease of use of the Court Reserve platform. So that's it for Recreation Fund. If there are any more questions about Recreation.
Just one, there's quite a large increase in the credit card service area. Is that right below advertising?
So let's see, credit card service.
Yes, because before we used to pass these credit cards on, and now we are actually paying them now.
Out of the.
Yep.
Okay, that makes sense. So just a different way that we charge customers for, and that's probably related to the Court Reserve platform itself, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So for example, if you sign up for a $59, 1-month membership at the Sports Center, we're not tacking on the 3% credit card fee to that $59. we heard from members that, you see the $59, you expect to pay the $15. So we're just absorbing that, and that recognizes that we pay that back, that credit card processing fee ourselves.
Okay, Mr. Mayor, if I may, that's an interesting concept considering everybody else in town is charging you 3% if you use your credit card. I'm just saying that's.
I do believe that it does. So we pay the credit card, but I believe he has it in that app to do.
Oh, does it?
They tack it.
So it does
on.
tack
Yeah.
it on.
Yes, it's just.
We then pay it. Yeah.
Typically, so our other credit cards for, that we use here, the company itself just, passes that fee on and we don't have to pay it. It's basically done in the transaction. This company, however, we have to pay the fee. It's just the way that it's set up. But we tack it, basically we put a 3% more on it and then we have to pay it. So. So like if you use your credit
Works
card
out.
for the, like to pay your utilities, you're gonna pay your $100 plus your credit card fee, but we don't ever see any of that. That's all done through the transaction.
Yeah, I guess that's what I'm saying is a lot of places now, I'll just pay cash because otherwise I'm paying 3% more. And they tell you right there that,
Yeah.
just saying, we maybe wouldn't do that.
We don't have a cash option, do we?
We got rid of that last year, and there have been approximately 0 complaints. The members much prefer just checking in with their phone when they get in and not fiddling with cash. And it's also reduced probably hours a week of staff time of shuttling cash and coins to and from, and then somebody counting them and then going in the back end and recording all that. So the cashless transition at the sports center has been a resounding positive thing for members and the city.
Thanks.
Yep. Any other questions about rec? Okay, next fund, special revenue fund is the Parks Capital Improvement Fund. The source of revenues for this fund is park user fees. As I think you all are aware, the City Beach Marina and the Windbag Marina is the largest share of the Parks Capital Improvement Fund. That's around $250,000 of revenue for the city for the utilization of our marina facilities, followed by the RV park, which generates around $100,000 to $110,000 in revenue each year. After that, you go to War Memorial Field, which is, I believe, around $65,000 or so in revenue. That's mostly coming from the high school, from the Festival of Sandpoint, and other heavy users of the War Memorial Field Sports Center. And then third would be the Travers Great Northern Centennial Sports Center, not the James E. Russell Sports Center. Remember, that's in recreation, but all the fields and the shelter at the Travers Sports Complex is additional revenue that we put towards parks capital improvements. So that's the source of revenue for this special revenue fund.
And that's not on here.
This would, well, I'm just,
Not seeing it.
Correct.
sorry.
These are the expenditures.
yeah, so now we'll look at the expenditures from that fund.
I'm gonna go, Jason. So the way that the budget book is designed is that we have the park division, which includes all of this fund. It also includes the park maintenance, which is in part of in Fund 01. So when you look at this park division, is it including all the maintenance and the capital and the impact fees and all into here? So I don't know if it would be easier just to talk through that whole like that, or I'm just trying to think what would be easiest because I could go up.
I was just going in the order of the agenda, which has Parks Capital Improvement Fund next.
This is the only area that's in all sorts of different areas.
Okay,
So I'll open up this then,
okay.
our capital improvement fund itself.
So I
Mr.
would,
Mayor, while we're waiting, is there some place that I can see the revenues? Oh, are you pulling this
Yes.
up now? Because
So in-
you list those fast and I can't, I
Mhm.
don't see them on here and I can't write that fast.
So the way the budget book is you have the funds up here in that actually. So you have the fund summary overview, and this by fund will have all the revenues and all the expenditures inside that fund. So
Okay.
I've opened up this.
It's not in this
capital
packet.
improvement fund, yes. So now I'm scrolling down here and this is where you can see all the revenues here, the type of revenues. And then you can see the type of expenditures for just this fund. Now, when you go back onto here, and that's where you're, and I could scroll down because I can, to the expenditure part.
So
That's
put
what you're
30
looking for, right, Pam? Is you wanting to see the revenues and expenditures?
Right.
Yeah, So this is where, this would be the easiest place if you want to do it by fund.
Going into the budget book.
Yep, go into the budget book and you go underneath the fund overview, and then you can go into each one of these funds themselves. Or you can go back to your one page here. And
Okay.
One page here to me is then you can see right there, you can have the revenues on the left hand side and the right, yes,
Okay, thank you.
yes.
I've got a quick question too. I was looking at that, that summary in this same page. I think if you scroll down to revenues by division.
Yes.
Okay.
Your screen looks a little different than mine.
Oh,
Well, it just says park maintenance and capital saw a notable increase. The city beach RV park revenue decreased by 96,000 or 9% to 955,000.
That is including grants. That's gonna be all the grant that's coming in, so we will have spent part of that grant this fiscal year. And then we budgeted for 900,000 next year. We had a million this year, and then
Oh, so we spent 100,000 on the design and then we're
Your-
gonna spend 900,000 on the construction.
Yeah.
And
give
so
or
it
take,
just
yeah.
kind of straddles 2 budget years, and that's why this statement is correct, but it's kind of confusing.
it is, and that's one of those ones that rolls over into the next year, but it's not more money, it's the same money.
Right, so
Yep.
the RV park isn't generating $1 million of revenue. It's a grant fund
grant.
for a specific project.
Correct.
Perfect,
Yep.
thank you.
yeah, thanks.
And that was the first area I was going to talk about, the $900,000 of capital improvements other than building for the RV park. Just to remind you, which we just discussed, that we are in the middle of an RV park project. We're in design right now. The total construction part of that project is around $830,000. And that construction will not begin before the new fiscal year. So most of that $900,000 is anticipated for construction. Of the $900,000 in the budget for next year to complete the RV park, around $855,000 of that is the grant share. Does that make sense? So that means around $45,000 is our parks, our city revenue from parks put towards that project. Why only $45,000? Because we will have spent about $5,000 towards of our parks revenue towards that project by the end of this fiscal year, and about $45,000 of the grant dollars towards that project. So the total project is $1 million. 950 of that is from the IDPR grant, which we'll be talking about here in a little bit when we look at the concepts. The next item I would highlight is the City Beach parking lot and boat launch improvements. We have $1 million in the budget. Sarah, we're still in, if you can help me find it, Sarah.
Yeah.
I think this is lumped in with the capital improvements other than building on bottom of page 32.
Thank you.
Yes.
Also on page 55.
Uh,
Thank you. Management 50.
I don't have a page 55. It's the page 53.
There's your boat launch.
Here, I got it.
Yeah, so we are putting in the budget for next year $1 million to move forward with the improvements to the City Beach boat launch and the City Beach parking lot. Of that $1 million, we are anticipating, and of course, these are not approved grants. We will apply this winter, but we always have to budget ahead of time. Asking the state for a $700,000 Waterways Improvement Fund grant to help fund the boat launch phase of the parking lot improvements. So the $1 million budgeted for City Beach parking lot and boat launch improvements, 700,000 of that is expected to come from grants, and 300,000 expected to be city capital improvement fund dollars for parks. That would be our match share.
What's the balance in that capital improvement?
I'd have to go pull it up. It's probably 1.25.
Okay, so we're talking maybe 25% or less of our total, but balance in that account.
Yeah, usually like to keep a little bit of a balance in there. It's a part of our cash report that you get every month, so I could pull up that And since I have this up, I won't, but I can get that exact number for you. When we
No, I don't need an exact number.
And Councilman Schreiber, the revenues going into that CIP are about 400 and change a year.
Okay. We have some other parks acquisition
So I'll talk about Parks acquisition next.
that comes out of the same account.
A little
right?
different, a little different.
Little different.
In fact, we
Okay.
have 1.7 million budgeted for Parks property acquisition, and 0 of that is from the Parks Capital Improvement Fund.
Okay.
So that is that's the next section of my presentation. We'll talk about that in a moment. The impact fees.
Mr. Mayor, if I may, I'm just trying to wrap my head around the revenues that are for those different. So starting on page 54, like wastewater capital projects, the revenues that go in there, the street capital and projects, revenue that allows us to do those. Is that something I have to look up in the budget book?
We covered those last meeting, but if you wanted to look up those revenues, you can pull those from the budget book. That's correct.
Okay, because I didn't write those down on this. It's a lot.
It is a lot. That's why it's a 4-year
Take me a
term.
while. I want to totally understand what's going on.
So the line we're looking at in the packet, do they have the same packet, Sarah?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At the bottom of page 32 is the $2.58 million for capital improvements other than building. So that includes the City Beach parking lot and boat launch improvements, which we're budgeting $1 million for. Parks master plan projects, which we're budgeting $1 million for. You might ask what that is. We have many projects in our Parks master plan that we have the opportunity to pursue next year. So we're going to work with the Parks Commission as we do to look at our Parks capital improvement plan and prioritize what projects they'd like to see us. So that $1 million is not all going to be city money. There are lots of grants we plan to go for if we choose to move forward with some of those projects. Again, we're budgeting for the possibility that we implement some of our parks improvement projects that we have envisioned. So that'll be, input from the Parks Commission. The other one that has already been budgeted for this year and it will carry over to next year is the Euclid Right-of-Way Waterfront Park, which has $250,000 allotted for it. We have selected a landscape architect. We do not have a contract with that architect yet. It's kind of been put on the back burner a little bit with all the work that Eric Bush has been doing on the downtown revitalization phase 3 right now. And we know we're not going to do construction this year, so that's anticipated to go into design probably this fall. We'll work on it over the winter with the Parks Commission. So just an update on that.
And
So-
in the budget book, in here, you can find details underneath the capital projects. And then underneath the park and maintenance and capital, and you have each one of these projects in detail. If you click on that, you can see a lot more detail about that and what's the revenues that are funding it. You can see down here, like what's funding grant funded and park improvement fund. So each one of those projects, you can also get more detail in that area.
Finally, so to Councilman Schreiber's question about land purchase, we do have 300,000 budgeted in the park CIP, and I hope I get this right, Sarah. That contributes to the 1.7 million we have budgeted for parks land purchase in total. The 300,000 from the park CIP, I think one concept has been to seek reimbursement from SURA for that because we are looking at the Union Pacific right-of-way, which we've talked about with you all in the past. A portion of that, about 40% of that land actually lies within the urban renewal revenue allocation area. So there's the possibility of using some urban renewal dollars to purchase that land. The other share of that land would be purchased using Parks impact fee dollars, which is a different fund than the Parks Capital Improvement Fund. So you will see 300,000 for land in the Parks Capital Improvement Fund budget, but that would be reimbursed by SURA if SURA approves that land purchase.
And that's just the abandoned right of way that they have?
The 2.53 acres of Union Pacific right of way between Larch and Boyer. Yes.
Behind Conixu House.
East of the
Yeah.
Belltown apartments there.
Wow, and they want 1.7 million for
No. Sorry, we're not quite to the rest of that yet. So that's
Okay.
the 300,000 we see in the Parks Capital Improvement section would cover 300 of the last appraisal we got for that was around $700,000.
Okay.
So around 40% of that land purchase would be funded from Parks CI Capital Improvement Fund with reimbursement from SURA. The other 400,000 would come from the next budget we're going to talk about,
Gotcha.
which is the impact fee budget. Okay. So that's it for Parks Capital Improvement Fund. The biggest line item, of course, is that 2.58 million for capital, and that is City Beach boat launch and parking lot. I don't know where we're going to be on that project a year from now. Hopefully, we're moving towards construction documents and we're getting ready to go out to bid. But there will be many more design expenses related to that after today, when you guys, hopefully give us guidance on a basis of design. Those will not be realized until the next fiscal year, because the parking lot and boat launch phase of that project is basically going to be paused after today, as we focus on the RV park design. And there will be a lot more community engagement on that as well. The Parks Master Plan identified projects, that could be any number of things, from non-motorized boat launches to dog parks to other things that the Parks Commission are going to weigh in on and give us guidance on what they think we should prioritize with that $1 million for Parks Master Plan identified projects. There it is there. And the Euclid right-of-way waterfront park, which has $250,000 budgeted for construction and completing design.
Mr. Mayor, if I may ask Jason a question.
Please, yeah. I think we're going to workshop mode, so just.
Okay, thanks.
Go ahead, yeah.
In that Parks Master Plan projects, is the Fireman's Landing at all considered in that?
It is a concept that's in our Parks Master Plan, yes. Keep in mind, our Parks Master Plan is that 2020 plan that showed basically
Right.
4 site-specific plans.
So I looked at that today, and it actually said that there was, it's gonna see if that later, 25,000, a grant was already received, 25,000 to do design and public input on that. It was in the paper.
Yeah, from the Lore Foundation.
From what?
The Lore Foundation?
I don't know. It just said that we already got a grant for that in 23. I'm just wondering why that's kind of fallen off. Maybe this isn't the time to talk why that's fallen off the radar as a project. That stormwater down there, it probably is not under parks.
So there's a couple things, right? That's not currently a park. I think the Parks Master Plan envisioned putting a park in that location.
Something there,
Yeah,
right?
so
While we worked on the stormwater.
Sure. Yeah.
So is that off the table after a grant was even received to do a concept design in 23?
I'm not aware of that grant, to be honest with you.
Okay,
That
well,
was-
when I was researching that today, it came up on, the newspaper had an article about it, so I read the article in the Bonner, in the Bee.
Well, since 2020,
This
we've
was in
had 2 different
Right.
concepts for that
This was in
location developed.
2023.
Yeah, so we had the Parks Master Plan concept, and then we had the downtown design report concept.
Right,
Um,
I'm not talking about that.
If council wishes to prioritize Farmers Landing, we could move that up for next year as far as a park project.
Okay, because that would be a park project, because
It could also not be a park project. Council may also decide just to make that a parking lot, or to eliminate parking and put, just stormwater treatment down there. If you wanted to do just stormwater treatment, you'd probably want to get rid of all the asphalt and put more green space down there.
Mhm. Which is like a park. It's a
Could be.
passive park, right?
Yeah.
I guess I'm wondering where that comes in the budget.
Mhm.
If I was questioning to try to get interest back on that,
Mhm.
where that would be, is that in the parks? Is that in because I mentioned it for the phase 3 Superior Street.
I suppose with the adopted concept we have for that location, if council wished to move forward with that, I think a lot of grant writing is going to need to be done, or we reallocate money from revitalization phase 3 SURA towards that, because I think that concept's a multi-million dollar concept, probably in the tens of millions of dollars
For Farmans.
for Farmers Landing. So as with most of our Parks Master Plan concepts, it's about $250 million master plan to implement. If council did want to move forward with any of those concepts, there would have to be, serious talks about local option taxes, some major grant writing efforts, things like that to fund. And we asked voters to fund that project. It did not get approved. So with the 400,000 or so we get for the Parks Capital Improvement Fund through moorage and field use every year, we're not going to get very far on a Farmers Landing project, given the concept that we have adopted today. So we would need to go back to the drawing board. I think that's what the 2024 design competition was, to envision something different down there, more green and passive park oriented. But that was also
With
adopted by
stormwater.
council, so we don't have a replacement for the concept from 2020 at present.
Okay, I read something in the Sura. If you want me to do this another time, just let me know. I read in Sura that there's money for, I wrote it down. It's on page 5 in the Sura plan.
Yeah, Councilwoman Duquette, with all respect,
Okay.
this is for us to go through the changes and
right.
and I think it's a great discussion for you to have maybe with the director directly, and then or me if you need some help or
Because I'm
assistance.
just wondering if it should be if it could be part of this budget is why I bring it up now.
Well, we have $2.28 million capital improvements other than buildings. So you can think of it to some degree as
Okay, we can move
$2.2
on.
million there to be guided by the Parks Master Plan identified projects.
Yeah, as I said, that 2.2 some million dollars is envisioned for advancing the boat launch and parking lot effort next year. But if council wanted to put that on the back burner and say, let's
Okay.
instead go
Right.
for Farmers Landing, we could reevaluate and do that.
Well, yeah, it falls within the SUR boundary, if I
Right.
understand, so we could possibly use some SUR funding as well if we don't use
So
it.
I was
for
thinking, it
phase two.
says enhancement and improvement of transportation for pedestrians is one of the things that sort of could be used for.
So I would voice my support for,
Stagnant areas was another, they said it could be used for. I read the Sura thing.
Yeah, I think there's a there if council wants to direct or prioritize how those capital improvement dollars are spent in the next budget.
Need to look at the ordinance as well for that fund, because that fund is not a designated park and that has to be used in parks. So to me, that,
We'd probably have to
Gotta look
designate it
at
as a
that.
park, yeah.
that would be.
So that would not be a designated park if you made it a green space and a walking path.
Well,
well, it is in our parks plan.
council
Um,
could designate it as a park.
It is in our parks plan, but I don't think anybody would want to see what's in that parks plan. It looks a little over the top, just looking at it. So
Okay.
I think what Counselor Duquette and I are suggesting is something much more dialed down. And if we were to get a stormwater fund going, that
Utility.
could pitch in as well, along with SURA. So we'd have 3 different funding sources there. I agree that this is a lot of details to work out, so
Okay.
maybe we'll take this offline.
Okay. I just had to throw it in there. Sorry, it's on my mind.
On page 27 of your handout, you've got the Parks Maintenance and Capital. This is the impact fee fund. Impact fees are collected at the time of development. Every housing unit or commercial office space or hotel room built in Sandpoint pays a certain dollar amount into our Parks Impact Fee Fund. And that can be used for expansion of park facilities, including purchase of park lands. So we have 1.4 million budgeted for Parks Impact Fee expenditures next year. And that is envisioned for 2 land purchases. One being the Union Pacific right-of-way, which I mentioned before, the 2.5 acres east of Kinixu Health, east of Milltown neighborhood there. And about $1 million of that is envisioned for the purchase of the Baldfoot Disc Golf Course property on Baldy Mountain Road, which we are in the middle of an appraisal for right now. So we're getting an appraisal from Vail Bridge Partners out of Spokane, which specializes in that sort of property, and also provided our appraisal for the Union Pacific right-of-way. So again, impact fee dollars plus the SURA dollars would get us to $1.7 million, which is roughly what we expect those values to be upon appraisal.
Okay, thanks.
Yep.
Now, is that the Union Pacific right of way? Is that just the linear stretch that runs north-south, or is that all those additional little pieces of abandoned right of way that kind of separate?
It was kind of
pieces that-
shaped like a fish hook, if you recall. It kind of goes north and then jogs to the west, and then there's a little triangle piece in the middle of that. So it's more than just a 20-foot railroad right of way. It includes kind of a wedge at the top that goes out and then connects with an easement that we have across private property out to Boyer. So there is the potential to have at least a 10-foot wide trail from Boyer all the way to Larch through that right of way because we have a permanent easement across the private property that separates that right of way from Boyer presently.
Oh, that's great to hear. I was more thinking to the north of that, there's.
It does
a
not
couple-
include the property north because that's actually owned by BNSF, I believe. It's a different
Oh,
property
really?
owner once you get north of the Union Pacific right of way. And that's an active rail corridor. I know there's some abandoned corridor up there as well, but you get quite close to the active corridor where trains do still travel.
We have, the city already owns two pieces of
I know,
property up
yeah.
there, and to access those, you have to cross the railway, which I'm sure they would love it if we didn't have to cross the railway to access our property. So they might be interested in selling it as well. I'd love to see that to be a more contiguous area rather than just kind of strips of autonomous property that some of which we can't even use right now.
Yeah.
I thought we
Totally.
were waiting to hear back from them at one point.
I
Are
write
we
them
still
diligently
waiting
every
to hear
3
from them?
months. We're
Okay,
now on our 3rd property acquisition manager, and
okay.
every time it's waiting for a purchase and sale agreement. I'm waiting from them.
Okay.
It's a slow
Still waiting.
process. 4 years.
Okay. Any other questions about that impact fee fund? All we have in there is the $1.4 million for land purchase. So that's pretty simple. The next, actually Holly, did you want to talk about Ontario really quick? Holly has one item in the impact fee special revenue fund as well.
Sarah, you could actually pull up the capital projects. There's a map there that might be helpful for council. This is a project that council has seen before, Ontario realignment. It's in the FY26 budget and we're rolling it over to FY27, anticipating that we're not going to get it done this year. This is an effort to realign the intersection of Ontario with US 2. Currently, it's a skewed intersection and it's quite unsafe. There are visibility issues. We have $500,000 in our development impact fees dedicated for this project. We've got some right-of-way acquisition to work on, as well as design and construction. So those are the efforts. This project needs to be coordinated really closely with ITD. It's very likely that $500,000 is not going to be adequate, but we've got to start that planning process and design process before we understand the full project scope of work and budget. And this is, again, just to kick off that project, again, working very closely with ITD on this intersection improvement.
Is that in here?
Yes, it is on page 20. I think it was on 27 or 28.
On 28 and 27 maybe.
United States Capitol.
It's on 27.
I believe it's page 27, mid-page, under construction services, non-capital
Okay,
and land.
that's at
Capital land.
400,000.
Holly, I have a question. Do you know where that 500,000 is in the lifespan of impact fee dollars? Is there a ticking time clock on this?
Yes, we need to spend these dollars as quickly as we can.
Okay, thank you.
I believe these impact fees have, I don't know what the date, the sunset is on them, but it is coming up. So we want to spend these dollars in the next year.
This is kind of unrelated, but that is a pretty heavily used pedestrian crossing. So I'd love to see the bike ped committee weigh in on that project as it moves forward.
Oh, absolutely. Yep.
And that's the 400,000.
There's 400 on one item, and if you go down a couple land items,
Oh, the
there's
100.
land and there's
Okay,
100.
Both of them together.
Yes.
Okay, got it. Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, we are onto the general fund for parks maintenance, government and government buildings. Let's look at, there weren't a lot of changes here, really, just 2 that I wanted to point out. We did see an increase in our multi-purpose waste disposal budget. What page is that on? I'm not sure exactly. Let's see, I think I've got it here.
Report 26.
Yeah, so page 25, Sarah, right in the middle. We switched vendors from what I understand, and the cost of porta potties went up. We serve most city parks with porta potties. If you've not noticed, we don't have flush toilets in many of our parks. And maybe Cheryl can talk briefly about our porta potty contract.
Hello, counselors and mayor. The portable toilet rental and service contract, it is a 2-year contract. It was a solicitation. The KG&T were the only ones that submitted. And historically, there's only been a choice of 2. And so KG&T got the contract because we need the service. And just like the previous contract, it is more expensive than we've paid before. And it was more expensive again this time upon contract, the new contract as well. So.
Is that the 32.5?
Yeah. Yep. Are there any questions about the contract?
It's a lot. We spend a lot on porta
Spend a
potties.
lot on portable
Right.
toilets.
Yeah.
And this, and you know,
There's a lot.
we have, we made changes to the service that's provided, in the last contract we had with KG&T. But they do such a good job performing the service that, you know, they're only servicing them twice a week. And the complaints on portable toilets, specifically at Windbag, we don't even really receive complaints like we were before. So
Yeah.
we're getting the service, but we are paying for it. And we don't have restroom facilities, so.
One of the, I'm sure some of you are thinking, why don't we just build some flush toilets?
But I was just gonna say.
We're going to talk a little bit about flush toilets here in a little while with Eric
I'm
Bush.
sure.
The cost of a flush toilet in a park on the low end is around $100,000
Right.
for a single flush
Compost.
toilet. So it's quite crazy to even think about what it would cost to put flush toilets in even a half of our city parks. You'd be looking at well over $1 million to equip our parks with flush toilets. I mean, that's on the very low end. So again, when we think about the improvements to our park facilities, I'm thinking of Windbag, I'm thinking of City Beach, I'm thinking of the Ponderay Bay Trailhead, and how parking revenue from visitors might be invested. A really wise investment, in my opinion, as we go to improve, let's say, the Ponderay Bay Trailhead parking lot where there's a porta potty sitting there, on a gravel pad right now with no formal parking spaces. Perfect place where we can justify making a near-term investment on permanently improving that into a formal parking facility with a single toilet or maybe a men and a woman toilet or something like that. That might cost $100,000 just to drop a toilet in there, but we could, as part of a overall rehabilitation of that parking lot and improve access to Ponderay Bay Trail once and for all. It's always been kind of an informal, temporary access if you think about it. The city's never really spent any money on providing access to Ponderay Bay Trailhead, but with parking revenue coming in starting today, that's the kind of improvement we could justify investing in the near future, I hope.
Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead, Councilman.
Thank you for bringing that up. Do you mind sharing where the revenue is going to go to? Which fund? Is it the Parks Fund? A lot of people are asking.
That
For the
for now,
parking.
that's up to you. You guys are the council. You can propose that.
Say today, let's say you make $10,000 today. Where's that money going today?
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah, the initial revenue will come to pay back for the kiosk.
Mhm.
And then it will be held, as Sarah mentioned, some of it is to support Spot this year. Thereafter, though, the council's going to have to make a decision on how you want to restrict or where you want to use that revenue. Sarah's comments are that we really don't, it's a projection at this point, so we probably want to run it for a year to have a good understanding of what that revenue is going to be. And then, yes, this council will have before them the opportunity to restrict that, dedicate it, et cetera.
Thank you.
So you mentioned Spot for since in that plan, it's got a bus stop. Are you talking about contracting to have them take people to the park out of that money?
No, what I'm talking about is, you may recall, our first couple of slides showed the collection from the local option tax funding approximately, was it $110,000 a spot? We're funding at $145,000 this year, as we did last year. That delta last year came from some one-time money from maintenance out at the Lead Lock building out in Industrial Way. This year, we are plugging that gap with projected parking revenue money.
So could some of that parking money be used in the future for the
It is
service?
up to this council, as I just mentioned, to
All right.
determine where that revenue will go. We won't really have a good, solid understanding of what that revenue is until probably next year. So I imagine next year at this time, we'll be having this discussion.
So it won't be in 27 budget. On this page, Jason 25 on the very top, I highlighted that tech services, arborist, urban forester, and I highlighted it last time. Is that just for park? For the park?
That's for when we occasionally need to mobilize a professional arborist to deal with the challenging tree issue in a park.
And so is that, it's twice as what it was? No, I'm sorry, it's not, it's the same. So do you ever use that?
In emergency situations, if we had a bad wind event, for
But
example.
you just bring that forward?
What if we needed
You-
to hire a crane to come in and remove an old tree in a park that had snapped in half because of a wind event? That's in the budget. You can see the previous year, we only spent 1,875 of that.
Right.
But we do budget for it in case.
So
of it.
you didn't use any last year? I'm just trying, because it was adopted,
Last year, we used 1875.
that was in 2025.
Yeah.
Adopted in 2026 was 20,000, it says.
And I can't tell you because I have.
Okay.
I don't know if we've used any of it this year or not. I'd have to ask Colton.
Yeah, I'll
Colton
get,
kind of controls
If
that
you
money.
don't use that, can you pull that forward?
It's beginning cash.
Before about move overs, huh?
yeah, that goes into our beginning cash, one time.
Okay. Right.
Do we have on that subject, thanks to Sarah for pointing out that we often don't use our budget for urban forestry. Do we have an idea of how many years back that goes that we haven't used all of it and how much we haven't used? How much is
We could look at that. It's not something we track. I can tell you, and since I've been mayor, I remember a couple phone calls where, are we going to remove the trees? There's some up on, I think Oak, and the cost was like 15,000. And I said, no, landowner's responsibility. We don't think they're a hazard. But if we had to remove them, we would have come up with that money to remove them. So we've been pretty tight on it, trying not to spend that. But wind events, large storms, et cetera, it could all go like that because there's not a lot of money there and it's expensive if we have a big citywide event.
But yeah, I'm just saying if we, let's say it's been 5 years that we've been
We'd have to look
budgeting
at that.
50,000 and we've only spent half of it each year. That means there's 125,000 in
It's been pulled forward each
the
year.
one-time money that was earmarked for that purpose.
I don't see it in here.
So I don't know if that's,
We'd have to look into that. Happy to.
where does that line item live? I think that's in a couple different budgets,
I think we-
being one of them, obviously.
It does. It's broken up between streets, parks, and I think just streets, parks, and utilities. I think all three of them have one for hazard tree removal or addressing that and to support the Urban Forestry Commission. So yeah, we'd have to probably just go back and look at previous budgets and tally that up and figure out what average annual expenditure we're making across those three different spots.
That'd be great. I saw that email today about the urban forestry's budget
Recommended budget.
recommendation, which I was glad to see. Thanks for making that happen.
Cheryl has something to add. I
Please.
think.
Oh,
I'm
please.
so sorry to interrupt, Mr. Mayor, but we need to take a break
Okay.
to fix some audio.
All right.
Mr. Mayor, I just would like to remind or let the council know I did let
Yeah.
the mayor know that I do have to leave early, so.
Thank you. Joel will be departing and we'll take a 10-minute break. It's 2:30. All right. 2:42 reconvening special workshop on the budget. And I'll let you pick it up from where we were, Director Welker.
Okay, we were on page 25 talking about the general fund, parks maintenance and government buildings budget. The only other item that kind of stands out there as a big change this year is our operational supplies and equipment for parks. We are asking for two new ATVs this year. Our quad bikes, these we use to maintain our parks. We also use them to plow pathways around town, plow parking lots within our parks. And our two ATVs are over 20 years old at this point. So that budget line item is increasing from 51,000, which is our kind of our baseline for just replacing and maintaining parks maintenance equipment. We're asking for an additional 24,000 or so, 22,000, 23,000 to replace our ATVs, which are over 20 years old. And if you see the guys running around in those ATVs, they use them every single day of the year around our parks, and especially in the winter when they're used to plow. So last year, council approved, I think, around a $50,000 request for a new tractor. We replaced an old Kubota with a John Deere. I might have that backwards. I think we replaced an old John Deere with the Kubota, but that has proved to be a very important piece of equipment. And to continually make sure our parks are maintained to the highest degree, we are asking for a little bit extra in that budget this year for two new ATVs. So that explains that increase from 51,300 to 74,250.
Can we sell the other ones, or are they
That's what I was gonna
operations?
They would be surplused as we do, and they would go into auction this fall. I think Cheryl's gone, but that's usually what we do with
Right.
equipment. Yeah.
Okay.
Correct.
Mr. Mayor,
Go ahead.
we had started down the topic of urban forestry and I'd like to continue that discussion unless there's a more appropriate time.
Councilman, all respect and whatever you choose, the intent of this workshop is just to go through the lines and the changes so you can all have the information over the next couple weeks. I'm available, staff's available. As long as it's not a quorum, council can discuss changes, tweaks, more information, ideas, how you want to maybe move money around, how it would work. But my preference would be that we just give staff the time to go through and highlight the changes and the key elements and maybe take some notes, and we follow up as we're able thereafter. But
Sure.
it's to you.
Could we just get a solid answer as to what budget that comes out of? I don't want to ask it in the wrong.
Oh, sure.
If it's coming up in a future presentation.
And just to clarify, all urban forestry related work and funding is your question?
Correct.
Correct. So that comes out of streets.
See some here in
Streets,
park
I don't have the line items. Holly or Sarah may be able to. Streets, utilities, and parks. It's a three-part approach to it.
I had mentioned that last time, if we could have pulled all those out and seen what the total was.
I
know we-
am looking for them. I know that so the mayor is accurate. Our streets division has funding dedicated, as does our utility. The utility is primarily for the water treatment plant. And there's some really large trees in that area. So let me,
If I recall, we were awarded a grant, and so I'm just
Mm-hmm.
curious, what budget did that go into and then come back out of?
Oh, yes, the grant, the $100,000 that got reduced by the new administration in Washington, but that money is in there as well. I can't point to the line item.
And 50,000 a year,
I know.
right, as well? Wasn't that what?
I believe the total amount is about $50,000 a year if you add all the three components of urban forestry.
page 21 has a tech service arborist urban forester 35. About 3/4 of the way down the page.
Right.
And that's just that's our general fund by the streets division.
Okay.
And
I wrote down last time that was right-of-way pruning, 35,000. Is it?
Right-of-way pruning, hazard tree removal.
we increased it from last year to address some right-of-way that was the difference between
The
last
20 and
year's number
35.
and this year.
'Cause I
So
did
we
write
could
that
work on
last
that.
Mr. Mayor, if that becomes a meeting, I would like to be included as well,
Sure.
please.
Absolutely. You could initiate it. Just say, send me an email.
And then there was discussion back in March about potentially going for round 2 of that same grant. The grant deadline was May. I don't remember it coming back. So did we not go for that grant?
We did not apply for that grant.
Okay.
We have the funding. We've not spent all of the funding. We are using that for an inventory is kind of the purpose of that. So updating our inventory. I believe we just selected our firm. We had an RFP go out and we're coming back to council with an agreement to get that contract underway with that firm to do the inventory and update that. And then any leftover funds would be used to do actual tree work, plantings, pruning, and that sort of thing. So I think soon we'll have an idea of what, or I know, soon when we do bring that contract to council for award, we'll have an idea of what we have left over to do prunings, plantings, and actual tree work, not just an inventory update.
And we've had some discussions just this last week with ITD. One of my goals would be to try to get some shade on the Dover bike path across from the new donut shop and the coffee shop there by Hot Yoga. And they have some concerns about fixed objects in their right of way. My point is that these things are very far away from the road. So we're trying to get ITD, because it is their right of way, to potentially approve some planting with the rest of that money along that Dover bike path. So there's some shade there.
Was gonna ask about that
The-
also.
I apologize. The page 37 has the final. So you've got parks, streets, and now the third item, tech services, at the very top, the second line down, $20,000 for a forester
Okay,
for the
and
water treatment plant.
I wrote last time that was Little Sand Creek backlog.
There's some tree work that we need to work on as a result of some windstorms that.
Because I wrote, that's the note I put on
Which
from
budget was
last,
that?
the 20, top of page
37. 37, the
Second
second
line
line.
down.
20,000 instead of 5. I wrote, I think I asked that last meeting. Because I wrote down that was for Little Sand Creek backlog, is what I was told.
That's in
From the top,
capital.
37, tech services are person.
Again, that would cover at the water plant, Councilwoman Duquette, if some of those big cottonwoods split, this is the only line item we have to address trees that fall within any of the utility properties.
That's what the 20,000 for this year was.
That's what it would be. If tomorrow we have a storm and there's a cottonwood that falls on this water plant, this is what pays for it to be removed.
Okay.
Okay, so I guess what I'm getting at here is if we were to assign some of that one-time money for urban forestry, which budget would that fall into?
Where the tree is at. I mean, so if it's in the street right away, it needs to go. Water, it needs to go into the water. It doesn't get its own budget.
Right,
It
I'm not-
needs to go where the trees are being cut or planted or whatever it is.
And I'm not exactly talking about emergency tree removal. We do have an adopted urban forestry master plan that was a 5-year plan that we haven't really started on. So I'd love to see some traction on that, and I need to know where to put that money to get traction on
Sure.
it.
I think we can discuss that individually if that's your goal. I think I can think of a variety of ways you could do that. Could be a new line item in the budget, urban forester, whatever direction you want to go. We could split it up. Sarah can proportion it as the work's done accordingly to which area it falls in. But I think it's a broader discussion of what your goal and intent of that money and how do we make it work well under our structure.
Sure.
Mr. Mayor, I think we would just use our existing items. So you've got $35,000 from our street budget and then some from parks. So you would just, if there's money to implement the urban forestry plan, those would be your two funding lines that you would increase.
Sure. Yeah, one of the takeaways of the master plan is that preventative pruning oftentimes addresses concerns that end up becoming emergency removals. So yeah, if that means putting an extra $10,000 in each one of those budgets, so there's
Buffer.
the ability to go actually do some preventative work rather than just
Mitigate.
waiting for things to fall over. In addition, I think there might be an opportunity to put some in the planning budget for some code updates. Director Welker, do you agree with that statement?
Sorry, I was replying to an email. Your question, please.
Would it be appropriate to put some money in the planning department's budget for urban forestry code updates?
Only if we were planning to hire a third party to do that work. We do all of our own code work within the department.
Okay.
presently. we've certainly hired people to write code for us in the past, but I don't think that would be necessary if the goal is to have the CPD department work on code updates.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you don't see any need for that?
No.
Okay, thanks.
Yep.
And then along those lines with Parks Department, I was curious of a one-time fund for the couple of trees in Farman Park. That's a parks thing. Because I was told if we did some aeration under those old trees and rearrange some of the pavers and did a little work on those, that we could save those. Would that be a one-time?
Well, remember, we
Parks
have 20,000
budget.
budgeted for arborist services. So if the
Think
idea
that
was
would do
to
it.
enlist an arborist to give us, to consult us on how to best preserve those trees, that could come out of the 20,000 that we already have budgeted for arborist services.
Okay, I thought you already had that
We do.
eyeballed for something, but that's not going to cover what it would take to,
That's for
Oh,
technical
those
services. So that 20,000
Right.
to get the professional input from an
Right.
arborist on what mitigation is needed. As far as the improvement itself, that could be done using, Parks Master Plan identified projects, for example. That's a broad term that describes parks capital improvements that aren't specifically identified as the RV park is specifically identified, or as the Euclid right-of-way park is specifically identified. So certainly an actual, redoing of some of the hardscaping around trees to preserve tree roots, that's something we could, I should say council could direct us to do using the parks capital improvement dollars that we already have in the budget.
okay, I was thinking that could be a one-time out of that.
Yeah, it wouldn't need to be a separate one-time budget item because we already have $1 million budgeted for parks improvements next year outside of the specific projects we've identified.
Because that park will not be a park if we lose
If we
those
lose the
trees.
tree, it would be a wasteland.
Yeah. And now I think is the time to be looking at those so it doesn't get cut down like the STCU tree was. Okay. I want money for that. I don't know where it is.
Any, you have more, Jason?
Yeah, we have one more area that is the CPD admin, planning and building section of the general fund. Make sure I got the notes. We're going to look quickly at page 10 in your packet. Just, I think an explanation is needed because there are some big changes in a couple lines here. Page 10 shows under salaries and wages, if Sarah can highlight that increase from 146 to 287. I want to thank you all for approving my $140,000 pay increase this year. That's very generous of you. No, I kid.
At least we could.
This is simply because of a reclassification of an employee in our department. You all know Bill, our former city planner, is now the deputy director of planning and community development. So his salary and benefits have just been allocated into the CPD admin section of the budget. His work isn't changing all that much. He is still our city planner. This is an additional responsibility he's taken on. Hence, he's been just shifted around in the budget slightly. So that increase to 287 includes the addition, not just me and Bill, but also our planning admin assistant, Mandy Brown, who's paid out of the CPD admin budget as well. So that's 3 employees covered there. The next line to highlight is at the bottom of that same page, page 10, is the increase from $25,000 to $50,000 for professional and technical services. The $25,000 we have in this year's budget was specifically for the ADA transition plan that we are currently developing with Vitruvian. It's a consulting firm out of Boise that does ADA transition plans for cities all over the country. They've been actively working on that. They were in town 3 or 4 weeks ago, literally assessing for over 5 days every single facility in our public right-of-way and all of our parks to work on phase 1 of that plan. Next year, we're asking for an additional $25,000 to continue with the ADA transition plan. This is a federally required plan that all cities need in order to conform with the Americans with Disability Act. $25,000 would get us through phase 2 of that plan as well. The additional $25,000 requested next year is for an initiative that the mayor has prioritized, which is an economic development marketing program. That is a program that the mayor has asked SURA to help fund. So while it's in the CPD budget, this is another one of those items that we'd be asking SURA to reimburse us for. So $25,000, I don't know, maybe the mayor wants to explain a little bit more what he has in mind for that $25,000.
Sure. Yeah, I'll just jump into it super briefly. Obviously, we need funding to initiate it, and we don't want to spend a lot of time and energy working on it yet. But the gist of it is, we are an amazing community to start, grow, and build a business. And oftentimes we don't highlight that or take any kind of active role in developing that. And what I'm talking about are industry jobs here, such as Lighthouse or DeHare or um, Lelock Biomedical, Timberline, Tamarack, et cetera. So this would be an effort to stand up a social media presence about Sandpoint as a community that is a wonderful place to live, recreate, but also build, grow, and start a business. So the end goal would be to drive economic development, high wage jobs outside of the service sector, primarily in our industrial areas around the airport.
So you did present that to Sura,
Yep.
and did they?
We have a meeting next Tuesday, so
Okay,
they're asking
respond?
for
Because I was
updates.
there at that one. Yes.
And I see that same line item says slash housing services.
Oh, let's see.
That's, so when we have names of them, it doesn't necessarily mean that's all of what it is. So that is either or. So in other words, I don't create a line for every single little thing that there is.
Sure.
So this is just economic development. What
Yeah.
you're saying.
So there was a lot of discussion during strategic planning about affordable housing, and if we were going to put money in the budget for that, that would be the line item to put it under.
This is purchase professional and technical
Yeah,
services.
this would be
so
this is hiring somebody to do something for us.
Probably not here, because this is usually like when we hire a consultant or a third party individual to do work for us. So there would need to be some other part of the budget. It depends on what you wanted to use the
Yeah,
money for. If you wanted to hire a consultant to do a housing related, planning effort for us, then this would be the appropriate place. But if you want to put specific money in the budget, for example, to offset costs of impact fees for workforce housing units, that would not be this line in the budget. That'd be somewhere else.
Perfect. Thanks.
Yep. And I can't tell you exactly where it is. I'd have to work with Sarah on where that would go.
Yeah, I didn't even know what it is.
Yeah. The final item in the general fund budget is on the next page, page 11. And this is kind of this has already been explained to some extent, but the reduction from $251,794 for total salaries and wages in the planning division to $142,000. I think you understand what that's about now. That's about the reassignment of Bill Dean out of the planning division into the CPD admin division, even though he's still our city planner. So notice that there's no reduction in force in the planning division. The remaining $142,000 is for two planners. We have an associate planner, we have an assistant planner. Currently, we only have one of those because our assistant planner resigned recently after giving birth to twins. Congratulations, Katie. She was awesome. She decided to stay home with her twins and her 3-year-old daughter for a while. So we are short-staffed in the planning division right now, and we do hope to post that position in the near future. And we are appreciative of keeping it in the budget because it's very important that we have people processing. We have an assistant planner processing those current planning permits that come in daily, which right now we have about 30 short plats, for example. That effort is being picked up by Bill Dean in the interim. He's taken over the assistant planner responsibilities, but I think you all value Bill's effort in code writing and the long-range planning. So getting that assistant planner position filled is priority in the near term for the planning division. So that's it for my budget update for you all. If you have questions, happy to answer them.
Questions for Jason, Council?
I think we did share.
Thank you, Jason.
Thank you, Jane.
So closing action items, Mayor Sarah on this, and way to be right on time. Actually, we're a little early, so we might make some progress here. Council, just appreciate the time to have department heads present the budget that we've all put together for your consideration over the next few weeks. If you have questions, please consider me a resource. Feel free to reach out to department heads. You know, if there's something you want to move around or really want funded or want to look at more closely, we'll all be available to support and assist your efforts. So with that, we will move on to the agenda. That will conclude the budget workshop element. Item 2, announcements and reports. Starting with the mayor's announcements. So I think the public and council is probably pretty aware today was the first day of our soft launch of our parking changes in the parking program downtown and at City Beach and other city lots. We've had a lot of good feedback. At this point, it is a soft launch. The police and enforcement will be very liberal with their warnings. We recognize that with any change, the public has to adapt to that. And in this case, in a very small portion of our town, there are some kiosks, primarily in the 2-hour zones and at City Beach and our other parking lots. As the public learns how to interact with those devices and we address any glitches in the software, we will be anticipating full implementation and enforcement in a couple weeks. Super grateful for everyone's patience and good spirit as we make this change. Change is always difficult, but that is all in place right now. So if you have questions, staff is available. Had a lot of compliments, thanks to staff and the public about how helpful they've been. And hopefully with accurate information like our meeting yesterday with the downtown businesses, facts and accurate information can be conveyed, not conjecture or speculation on social media. With that, any other council announcements? We do have the 4th of July coming up, so hope you all turn out for the kids parade and the main parade and then a extra special fireworks show.
Mr. Mayor?
Go ahead, Council President.
You were just on the topic of parking. I have had some individuals come up. One business owner was concerned, well, if I buy my parking pass and I park in the city lot, but because I own the business, I'm there longer than 8 hours. Would the suggestion be to use the parking that is free 24 hours over on Fifth Avenue? Is that a correct interpretation?
No.
No, because you can.
Let me, if I'm gonna share my screen really quick, if you don't mind, I need to rejoin the meeting here. I apologize. I had my screen closed. That's been a very common question. What if I have a long shift? Again, this is another one of those lessons where language matters.
Right.
8 hours is probably not the best description here. You recall the original proposal was for a 2-hour or a 3-hour permit. 8 hours is our enforcement window. We don't enforce outside of 8 hours.
Yeah.
So we've actually, in the last couple of days, changed the language on both the city website and on the permit portal, which I'll show you in a minute once I'm connected to Zoom. It's now an all-day parking permit. It's daytime parking, free daytime parking for any permit holders.
Okay.
Okay. There's no 8-hour limit because there's no enforcement after 5 p.m. And there's no enforcement before 9 a.m. That's 8 hours. So it's a little misleading to say it's an 8-hour parking permit when it's actually good all day.
Right. Okay. So that clears up that confusion.
Correct.
And then I've had some elderly individuals struggling with uploading the correct documents, and I've just told them to come to City Hall for assistance and or call. Is that?
Yeah, I would say we have the most incredible staff downstairs at City Hall, and I mean that. Like it's incredible to watch them over the last 3 weeks. They've helped at this point hundreds of citizens. It started out like you described, more of the elderly, the elderly citizens who do not do well with the technology. In the last couple of days, you've seen a lot more of the people who I think just maybe procrastinated or didn't get their permits in the first couple of weeks, and they understood that on July 1st enforcement would begin. As the mayor said, soft launch. We're not doing tickets until at least the 15th or so, but we've had a lot of people coming in pretty much constant from 7:30 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. getting help with the permits. And our front desk people have just been incredibly patient. I want to thank Haley and Mary Jane as well. Haley actually sat at the front counter for an hour and a half yesterday helping customers with permits, which she's not a frontline employee, but she had to give Amy Cook a break. So that frontline staff has been so helpful. And honestly, in all seriousness, like most customers are leaving happy and they understand the program better. and they have a permit and they're no longer worried about it. We have, I just checked, sold 2,125 parking permits in the last 3.5 weeks. So about 50-50 city and county residents. So just so you know, like in the planning of this program, our estimates were that we'd sell around 1,000 city resident permits and 1,000 county resident permits. We've achieved that in the first 3 weeks of the program before the first day of launch. Now, that just is also as a reminder for council, the permit program is not the money maker for the city. The permit program is really a way for residents to verify their residency with the city. There's technology requirements for that. We've had all sorts of suggestions. Why not use 7B plates? Why not use dump stickers? Well, you only get 2 dump stickers. We've sold a lot of households have wanted four permits for their household. A third dump sticker is $180. That's not a great program if you have to go pay the county $180 to park a car at City Beach. About half the vehicles, I'm guessing about half the vehicles in Bonner County don't have 7B plates. My household, I have 2 that do not out of 3. So it doesn't really work to go with 7B plates. The permit program is a registration of your license plate with the city so that we know who not to write tickets to if they haven't paid. So it's free parking for all registered vehicles. It's a program that benefits those who want the convenience of all-day free parking in our city lots. And another just reminder for council, I know you know this, but in case anybody's watching from the public, no permits are needed to park on our 1,058 street spaces downtown. No permits are needed. Almost nothing's changing in those street spaces. In 750 of them, absolutely nothing's changing from how it has been for years. And then in 250 of them, or 270 or so, we have added kiosks that do ask you to check in so that you are aware of when your 2 hours started, and also importantly, so that police know when your 2 hours started, because the request from business owners was to improve enforcement in those 2-hour zones so that more parking is available for customers where they need it, when they need it. The check-in process cuts enforcement costs in half. Police only need to visit a vehicle once to know how long it's been there instead of twice. And by the way, visiting the vehicle twice within exactly 2 hours is a very challenging logistic obstacle. And we have not had very effective enforcement in the past because of the challenges of using the traditional method of chalking tires or digitally chalking tires as we had been doing here in Sandpoint. So the kiosk system allows officers to know exactly when a parking session was begun and issue citations to those who have overstayed their 2-hour limit, while also increasing flexibility to downtown shoppers and customers who need more than 2 hours, because there's no way to get more than 2 hours of parking before today. Today, you can pay for a 3rd hour or a 4th hour, a 5th hour if you're somebody, as an example, who is sitting down for a 9-hour tattoo appointment on First Avenue, which I spoke to a tattoo parlor owner today. And that's an example he gave. He said, "What are my customers supposed to do who sit down for a 9-hour tattoo appointment?" I said, "Well, what did they do before?" He said, "They got a lot of tickets." I said, "Well, hopefully they never get another ticket now, because they can just pay for that additional time and not worry about it." And as with all of our parking, enforcement on the street only happens until 5 p.m. So any restaurant owner, bar owner, you're never going to be affected by this if your customers come at night, because after 5 p.m., actually after 3 p.m., you wouldn't pay for any more parking downtown, because you check in at 3, get your 2 free hours, and you can stay until 9 the next morning, basically. We don't encourage a lot of people to stay overnight downtown, but that's how the program is set up.
Thanks, Jason.
Thank you.
Any other announcements or reports from the council?
I do, but is it a time to ask a question?
We're going to have staff reports in just a second.
Okay.
This was really an
I
announcement.
do have an announcement that Josh and I went, Counselor Torres, to meet the Peace Run people who have run from the East Coast, Southern route up north, all the way, they're going all the way back to New York. There was like maybe 10 of the runners. They were so appreciative that we were there that they gave us a certificate of appreciation to the city of Sandpoint. And it says, "We, the runners from around the world, offer you our heartfelt gratitude for your enthusiastic participation in the Sri Shimnoi Oneness Home Peace Run." Maybe Josh has something to add. I don't know. I'm not sure what to do with this, but it is for
We
the
can
city.
put it in our files.
What they are doing, so we got a scoop of sand from the city beach, and they're taking scoops of sand all throughout the United States of America, and I think the world for that matter, and they're gonna put it all in one location so they can have a peace tree from around the world. So I thought that was pretty neat as well. Otherwise, I've got arts, culture, and historic preservation. The update right now is they're evaluating the request from Mr. Spiro with regards to the change order and/or thoughts on how to make that work for him. So.
Mr. Mayor, I
Go
did have
ahead.
a sustainability committee minutes as well. The city pesticide herbicide draft policy was assigned to the committee on June 3rd for review and comments. They discussed the draft policy at length. Two members had particular expertise in herbicide use, and so they were sharing their knowledge. The committee invited Director Welker to come discuss at the July 28th meeting if he's available. I'm not sure that he responded. Then they'll have questions and comments for clarification. The target goal for committee comments to the council is in October after the committee's September 22nd meeting. They continued working on protocol for its deliberations of assignments from the city council. Members are reporting back results of their investigations of other comparable towns with sustainability plans. It contributes to the goal of creating ties with other regional cities and universities on sustainability and finding best practices for a Sandpoint City Sustainability Plan. And Committee Chair Moon led development of creating the process for reviewing projects for sustainability guidelines. So as projects come to the committee, they're trying to get a succinct way of a checklist, like for them to work on projects.
One more thing, Mr. Mayor, I just got verification that because it was an RFP and there is that change order in there, they have the ability to change it, and it sounds like they're going to meet that want from Mr. Spiro.
Excellent. Excellent. Great. Any other council announcements or reports? Moving on, director announcements or reports. I know we've got a few construction projects going out there on Division and soon to be on Cedar between Division and Lincoln. Got a couple others. Maybe Holly will give us a quick update.
I guess for evening, Mayor, Council, afternoon. So Division is progressing. This is our sidewalk project, just a couple blocks west of us here between Superior and Pine Street. Sidewalk concrete placement started this week. The contractor is still on target to get that project done before the end of July, so they're meeting their schedule. And before school starts in the fall, we'll have a nice additional 2 blocks of sidewalk. Cedar Street is kicking off. You'll see closures starting on Lincoln and Cedar. So they're going to start the project on Lincoln at Pine Street, and they'll be working their way building a stormwater main from Pine Street on Lincoln to Cedar. Then they'll pick up that project at Cedar and Lincoln, and they'll work their way west. So the big high level here is, if this is impactful to you, pay attention to our city website. Our news page will direct you to the project page, where we keep up with all of the project updates, construction closures. This is a large project for us in our community, and we do anticipate road closures. So a portion of Lincoln will be closed and traffic will be detoured. So if this is a local route for you, we ask all residents to comply with the detour signs. Local residents will still be able to maintain access, but if you use Lincoln as your through street, you'll be detoured. Later in the project, it'll be Cedar that gets closed. So pay attention to our news page and our project page for those closures. The last update that I have for you is our water treatment plant. We just published our 2025 CCNR. That is our consumer confidence report that was sent out to all of the folks in our utility billing. It's also available in our drinking page on our city website. This is an annual report that we give an update on the quality of our drinking water, and we give notice if there were any violations. In 2025, we did not have any violations, but if you do have any questions on the quality of our drinking water, that is available to you.
Nice. Thanks. Are there any questions for Holly at this time? And Council, I'd just add that thanks, Holly. We had a very productive meeting with DEQ, the director, yesterday, and all the permit writers. It feels like we're getting some really good momentum on our request for wet weather treatment which would allow us to look at some different technology and downsize the plant. If you want additional information, feel free to reach out to me and myself or Holly can bring you up to speed on that. Thanks, Holly.
Thank you,
Thanks.
Holly.
Director Welker, you've got a few irons in the fire.
I already gave you an update on the parking permit situation. Parks projects, we've got the basketball courts have been painted. The stripes are already down at City Beach. They look really good. All the hoops have been installed. Kids are loving it. Adults are loving it. Still need to touch base with the muralist, but we probably won't do that until later in the season after the court's getting less use. The last courts to be painted will be these right here on Pine Street because the asphalt's still a little too fresh for the paint. They want to give it about 30 days to cure. So yeah, Steve Geiger's our guy. He's mayor of Ponderay, also in and out painting. He's done a fantastic job. Super excited for that. If you've been over to Traverse Park, Colton's crew has been doing amazing work. They did grading and sod around the picnic shelter. So now around that rotary picnic shelter, it looks beautiful. Go check that out. That's actually getting a ton of use. As I mentioned, softball's happening 2 nights a week, 8 games a week. Really exciting progress over there. Colton's got some really cool little micro park projects he's going to be doing with his team here. I'm meeting with the Bonner County Skate Park Association in a couple of weeks. They have some funding. They're thinking about doing some improvements to the little skate park at Hickory Park. So yeah, love working with these community partners, and hopefully we get some more cool projects done this summer.
Any
Mr.
questions
Mayor?
for Jason? Go ahead, Pam.
Along those lines, I had asked you and you responded, thank you, about the softball field at the middle school. You said it is school district property. Does the parks crew maintain around there?
No, we do not.
Okay, because somebody thought they might, and I was just curious about that field. Okay, thanks.
But like they mow like Washington School, right? Is that maintenance?
Yeah, no, this is the middle school softball field. It's
Gotcha.
just,
No,
So
the
it's
school
just-
has their own yard.
independent,
The
okay.
school has their own maintenance crews that do those
Okay.
facilities. Yeah.
okay, thanks.
Any other questions for Jason? All right, thanks, Jason.
By the way, just one more announcement. Before you leave City Hall today, please come with me to Bill's office because we have your binders. I know Pam's the only council person who's collected her binder for the code rewrite that we've been working on. Pam's already read the whole thing and given a lot of
Right.
feedback too. So
Right.
no,
I
I'm
text,
gonna shame y'all, but you
I
gotta come with your
emailed
binder.
Bill and I'm like, is anybody going to help me get through this thing? It's
So
huge.
please come with me after this meeting and I'll give you all your binders for that code work that we've been working on a lot. And we do expect to have some public hearings starting in August with Planning and Zoning Commission around historic preservation, commercial zoning, the things we've been working on for the last 7 or 8 months. And then those should be coming to you, by September or October.
And then if I may, Mr. Mayor, one more
Go
thing.
ahead.
Since Council President Rule had question from some residents on the parking, I don't want to get into it. However, I am curious to know what they ask when you go for a permit, because I haven't got a permit. And it went on just to see, that seems to me to be the big complaint, that people are having to give up information. And I'm just curious, you've gotten a permit. Could you tell me what information you have to give?
Yep, I grabbed I brought it into work the other day for my wife's car. I grabbed a Vista bill, and I grabbed just took a picture of her registration for her car.
So you just,
And that's it, just some
That's all.
document with your name on it that shows that you live in the county or the city, and then your vehicle registration. Now, if your vehicle registration matches your home address, you can just have your vehicle registration. So the only documentation you really need, if you have a vehicle registered at your current address, then you can upload that.
and that's all you have to give. You're not giving all sorts of,
Your license plate number, but that's on your vehicle registration, and
Registration.
that's because every permit is tied to
Okay.
a license plate.
okay,
So-
thanks.
So once a permit holder, your license plate is permitted or registered with the city, there's no checking in at kiosks in any city
Right.
lots. Now, the street parking, remember, the point there is to use those kiosks to monitor occupancy time.
Okay.
So there's no tracking is a term I've been hearing a lot of. Can't track you once you have a permit
Right.
if you're going to City Beach or the city lot or down
Okay,
to Ponderay Bay
thanks.
Trail. We'll have no
That's-
idea when you're there.
Just was curious. That's the biggest complaint I've heard.
Mr. Mayor.
Councilor Tate.
Jason, when I ran into this and I've heard some feedback from residents too, when you're on just your cell phone online trying to get this permit, are you able to do multiple vehicles in one submission?
You need to submit separate applications. Yeah, so you can add, up to 4 vehicles for your household, but when you complete one application, you have to check one box for one of those vehicles. You submit it, you
Yep.
get an email saying your application's been submitted, it'll be reviewed. You'll hear within 24 to 48 hours whether it was approved, but then you need to go submit a second application.
And so what I saw was every time I had to do that, it looked like they're going to charge me $20 per vehicle.
Oh, it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
Yeah, every vehicle is $20 to register into the system.
Got it. And
Yep.
you can do up to 4 per household. So
Correct.
it's not $20
Yeah.
for the whole household.
That would be $80 if you put 4
Got it.
vehicles in.
Okay.
Another, talking about like common questions and stumbling blocks that people are encountering. We've been working with the team at IPS to make sure that the language on the portal is as clear as possible. There's now a pop-up message that says, after completing your application, you should expect 24, 48 hours, but people, I think, just delete those without reading them because we often get people write us at our parking@sandpoint.idaho.gov email address immediately after submitting an application saying, where do I pay? I never put my credit card in. To remind council and the public, every one of these applications is being reviewed either by a city staff person or by somebody at IPS to make sure that the applicant is in fact a Bonner County or city resident. So that manual verification, I mean, it's actually impressive. We've had like 150 permit applications at least today, and there were only 20 that hadn't been approved already. So someone at IPS, this is what we're paying for. People want to know, where's the money go? It's not profit for IPS. They're paying staff over there to review every permit application and keep up with this constant flow of permits that have been coming in, so that usually within a few hours, a permit application has been approved. And they can either log back into their portal or they get the email. They'll both work, and then they go to My Permits and proceed to checkout.
What's the approval window, longevity for that? Is it once it's approved, you're good to go? Like if you wanted to pay, like you go in and put your information in, and then you want to wait like 2 weeks, 3 weeks to pay just for one reason or another? Is there?
Yeah, no, it doesn't expire. You have as long as you need to pay. So, and just to give you a picture of what that looks like. So this is actually my personal account, not my city account, because I bought one for my wife. I go into My Permits and I can see that, her permit here has been paid. I don't want to show her license plate number to the entire world, but and then there's a couple in there that haven't been paid because they were just ones that I experimented with. Okay, let's stop sharing. My attorney says, don't show your wife's license plate number to the public.
Jason,
Put that out.
Jason, one of the other things is actual stickers will be sent. My recollection was the cost of the sticker with the 75-cent stamp to mail it, it's $6 of a true cost.
Handling, printing, shipping, postage for the sticker is
And-
about $6. And that's something, after this first year, we might evaluate whether the physical stickers are needed. Because if we decided, and this is kind of a question I'm going to count on the police to weigh in on, is it worth the extra $6 per permit to have a window sticker? Does it increase the efficiency of enforcement that much that we can justify passing that on to the parker, to the customer? Because we could bring the permit cost down by $6, literally, like by just not having physical stickers.
Just having the license plate be there.
Yeah,
right?
the idea, and this was, the police said they preferred having a physical window sticker because it makes enforcement much easier. They see a sticker, move on, you see a sticker, they don't have to stop and do a license plate entry to determine if there's a permit associated with that vehicle. But all customers need to know that you don't need to wait for your sticker to arrive for your permit. Your permit is your license plate. The sticker is just to streamline enforcement.
And then my final question is, those stickers we expect to be arriving in about 2 weeks, is that right?
I haven't gotten an update from IPS. I'm not sure if they're in production yet.
Mr. Mayor, one more question.
Go ahead, Councilman Tate.
And this might be geared towards our city attorneys as well. I understand that people are worried about their license plate being out there. This might be a stupid question or a weird statement, but aren't license plates like visible to everybody?
Well, my wife's is now.
Well, I know, but like when people are worried about their license plate number being shared or being stored somewhere, like don't we all have that stored somewhere? And like they're visible to everybody?
Yes. Should I answer your question?
Okay.
I mean, you don't have to the extent that it's a Fourth Amendment right or something to that extent, you don't have a Fourth Amendment right to license plate number. You don't have a Fourth Amendment right to the protection of the look of your face if you're walking around in public. I mean, if you're exposing something to the public, including which is a public record, that's, yeah.
Yeah, just from what I've seen and heard on, the internet and other places, people are seem to be concerned about that. And I don't know if they're founded concerns or if they're just kind of in the panic. I'm not sure.
Mr. Mayor?
You're recognized.
Jason, just one quick question, specifically for the police side. So with the app, you were saying that they are walking and they're looking at the license plates and stuff like that. Does the app itself update the police officers when somebody is not currently in or they're past their time, which to me makes sense because then that would make them just walk over. Therefore, we would cut that sticker out.
So
I
one
think-
thing that's about this program, and there were some technologies that we reviewed that would have provided like real-time occupancy data of every space in downtown Sandpoint. So from, an office at City Hall, you'd be able to go on and see where cars are parked right now. Those technologies we chose not to go with. Those included physical like sensors that are placed in the asphalt underneath the car, or as you heard us talk about last year, these kind of LiDAR type eyes in the sky where there's a scanner up on a light pole that looks down and knows where cars are parked. We did not go with that technology. Very expensive, and we're not charging for parking on First and Second Avenue, so there's no way to recoup the cost. This technology was relatively cheap, and it at least doubled the efficiency of our use of enforcement officers from what we had previously. Because with the same amount of officers, you can visit more cars in half the time and know exactly how long they've been there. Now, the trade-off is it does create that little bit of friction, which is that check-in process at a kiosk. And I think that's what a lot of our communities, very frustrated about is I used to be able to park and go straight into the bakery. Now I have to stop at a kiosk and enter my license plate number. So there's some anxiety out there about that friction, but that friction is that's the decision that we made as a city in order to improve efficiency with which parking time limits can be enforced in our busiest blocks downtown. So keep in mind, this is only First and Second Avenue and one block on Third. So that's 20 to 25% of our street parking. Now there's a little bit of friction. It also creates an awareness among parkers how long or when they checked in. If you do check in via app, you'll get an alert when 15 minutes is remaining on your free 2 hours. If you check in via the kiosk, at least I have until this minute to move my car or pay for additional time.
And of course, with that friction, you also get the tremendous benefit if you're in a meeting or having lunch and want to stay longer, you can extend and not simply get a ticket for violating the 2-hour period.
Yeah, just like I think if we can request something like that from the technology, because it seems super possible. If the individual himself is getting an update, that tells me that they can code something that the actual officer. would get
So
some sort of
what I meant to conclude with was it's by zone now,
Got it,
not
okay.
by space. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
The kiosk does not know what vehicle space you're in. It knows what block you are on.
block, you know.
So the police can look down a block and they can see on their app that there are 7 vehicles checked in on this block, but they don't know which vehicles in which space because there's no space specific component to this technology. That would have required space by space sensors or cameras or LiDAR or something else that wasn't really worth the squeeze for the city because we're not making money on street parking. We'll make a very little amount of money for those who choose to overstay the 2 hours. This is really about improving enforcement and increasing turnover so that there's more parking available so that those of us who want to go down and spend money can find parking more easily.
Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead, Councilwoman.
And I just want to clarify again, also, if you have a permit and you're at City Beach or wherever, you don't have to check in on anything,
Right.
right? Okay. And so your credit card is only being used if you're at those spaces on First, that zone, the busy zone on First and Second.
But if you're only staying for 2 hours, there's no need to enter your credit card.
You don't have to then either.
If the fee is 0, they don't even ask for a credit card. They just
So, but you still have to check in the kiosk.
correct.
I'm just trying to figure it
Yeah.
out.
Yeah.
With the card or not.
Not for a free session, you don't enter a
Okay.
card.
Okay,
Yeah,
all right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Any other questions for Director Welker? Thanks for all the hard work. Just hats off to staff. Every single person in this building has leaned in and make this difficult effort very successful in terms of the launch. So thanks sincerely to everyone here. Moving on, next is the consent calendar. For the record, the total amount of bills for approval is $1,782,474.84, reflecting $985,809.84 for regular payables and $796,665 for payroll. Council, do you have any questions, or are there any items you wish to remove from the consent calendar? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion to approve the consent calendar.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Schreiber, second by Duquette. This will be a roll call vote.
Counselor Schreiber,
Yes.
Counselor Rowe,
Yes.
Counselor Tate,
Yes.
Counselor Duquette,
Yes.
Counselor Torres.
Yes.
Mr. Mayor, motion passes.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Next, we'll move on to new business with an update regarding the RV park and City Beach parking lot engagement process. I'll now yield the floor once again to Community and Planning Development Director Jason Welker.
Thanks again. And Eric's going to join me up here. He's helping out with this project. And I think we have clerks. Do we still have Dan and Jeff on Zoom? Okay. Probably have Jeff join us here in a minute. And Dan Taddock, our engineer, he's with HMH Engineering. Jeff is with MTLA Landscape Architect out of Spokane. Wonderful team. Jeff, I really want to thank, because he scrambled and just at the last minute this morning after our half-day community engagement at the farmers market on Saturday, we got some great feedback that has been incorporated into a concept C. So we've got a third concept to show you here today, beyond those that were uploaded in your packet last week. But I'm just going to show you quickly. We've had 207 responses as of this afternoon to our City Beach RV Park and Parking Lot Concept Survey. I did send you, I think the Mary Jane sent you yesterday, updated analysis of those responses. So we'll just go quickly through what the survey revealed, and then we'll look at the concepts. And I'm probably going to have Jeff, our landscape architect, kind of walk you through the three concepts, because he's the one most intimate with them. He's listened to the Parks Commission. We have a subcommittee of Parks Commissioners, including Taylor, Gwen, and Eric, who's the third? Taylor, Gwen, and Josh DeLucci. Josh is an RV. He has a pull behind RV. Taylor is the captain of the Commodore of the Sandpoint Sailing Association. So we have a boater, we have a RV user, and then we have a parent who takes their kids to the beach all the time. So perfect little subcommittee that worked on this over a couple of meetings. The broader Parks Commission weighed in, and the concepts you've seen now are really like V3 or V4 from what was originally proposed a couple months ago. I shouldn't say proposed, brought forth by the landscape architect a couple of months ago. We're now on like the third or fourth iteration after subcommittee, larger Parks Commission, survey, and then 3 hours at the farmers market, which I want to thank Josh and Pam for joining me at, which was really productive. We had conversations with dozens of people over these concepts at the farmers market. So let's look quickly at the survey results, just so you know, between those first two. Actually, maybe this is a good time to let Jeff assume control. Jeff, are you there? Can you join us?
I'm here.
Great. Do you mind sharing your screen, and you can kind of walk us through the three concepts as of this morning, the three concepts that you've worked on for us?
Yeah, I think I can do that.
And then the council can ask questions, and then we can look at what the community had to say about it. And just so I want to make everybody aware, we don't need a final decision on the boat launch and parking lot arrangement today. There is one really key decision point around the RV park that we do need today. It's not every little detail of the RV park, but there's a big question about the flow of traffic in and out of the RV park. Because once we have direction on that, Jeff and Dan and the rest of the team can continue work on moving towards 100% design for the RV park. And then we'll ultimately carry the boat launch and parking lot component towards 35% design by December this year. And that'll be more than enough to apply for grants in January of 2027. Does that make sense? Okay. We'll let Jeff share his screen, and you guys can ask questions. Jeff, tell us a little bit about these concepts.
Sure. Hi, this is Jeff Stiltz. I'm landscape architect with Michael Terra Landscape Architecture. It was great working on these concepts. So we came up with quite a few iterations with how these layouts happen. And we had this, we kind of went into this, and we had kind of a strategy looking at them, that the priorities were that the RV configuration would kind of make do with what is, or reconfigure in a way that would be more conducive to RV parking. And also looking at the RV circulation. So that was one of the priorities. Another priority looking at was try to look at vehicle types deconfliction. And so trying to make sure that we deconflict the boat launch and the boat trailer parking and the launching of the boats, passenger vehicles as they're coming into the site, RVs that are moving through the site as well. Limit the impacts to the existing green space. So trying to limit what is already built out as far as the existing parks. We're not taking out a whole lot of grass and usable area that people are using currently as park area. And also meet the passenger vehicle and the boat parking counts. So those were the four real strong kind of priorities to meet with all these concepts. One other priority too that was incorporated into these was also to deconflict the pedestrian circulation with the vehicles themselves. And so looking at how do people access City Beach off of Bridge Street and how the circulation happens throughout the site. So with concept A, the difference between this one and concept B is that we are looking at how the RVs actually access the RV park itself. The difference is that in this concept, as you enter City Beach and go through the roundabout, you'd go through the same route you would for the boat trailer parking, heading down to the boat launch in the prep pullout area, and you would enter in the RV park and go through it north and back into your site in those spaces. And so with this concept, we have 18 sites. There's 21 existing currently. So the determination was that we wanted to be somewhere between 16 and 18 sites to make it profitable or self-contained as far as profit goes, and actually give users a good experience, giving them a little bit more space than currently what's happening. And so as you enter the site, you pull in your spot, you would have your RV location there, and to leave, you would go through the four-way intersection. The idea behind that was that that it was brought up that as you go underneath the bridge and enter City Beach, you may miss the turn going into the RV park area. And so you'd go through the roundabout, and there would be a dedicated sign saying, "Hey, all the RVs and all of the boat launch traffic needs to go down towards the boat launch." The other concept with this one is looking at consolidating a large amount of the parking into perpendicular parking spaces, which currently it's angled parking there now. This increases the parking quite a bit in a smaller area. However, it does actually extend a little bit into the park itself. So what I've illustrated here is a line of the existing pavement. So that is currently where the parking area is at. And as that parking goes through, there is a little bit of space that's taken out of the park in order to accommodate the perpendicular parking spaces. The other strategy was also, as you go through the north parking area down towards the snack shack, creating a turnaround zone and a drop-off zone. This is large enough for emergency vehicles. And so with the parking itself, all of the passenger vehicles are actually deconflicted from the RV and the boat launch traffic itself. That was a really high level priority that we had in all three concepts, and they're all illustrated similarly. One thing that we looked at too with this parking is extending it into the park a little bit, creating 90-degree parking on the south edge of it. And what that does is it increases the parking counts quite a bit as well. So with all of those creating that, you deconflict all the passenger vehicle traffic and separate out the boat traffic. boat trailer traffic. The other portion of it being that as people are launching their boats, right here we've got our boat trailer parking. This iteration came from trying to find a way to park the boats that are separate from the passenger vehicles themselves, and trying to accommodate a space that's not already taken up by either the boat launch prep and pull out area, or the maintenance area that's currently existing, or the or dedicated maintenance sites or parking spaces themselves. The other portion of it is we also do have a dedicated small parking lot for ADA to get closer to the beach and the shelter and the restroom, as well as possible spots for non-motorized boat parking. So if you had a kayak, you'd be able to launch your boat or kayak from those portions. And then also in discussion was possibly allocating a spot or two for someone who is renting out the shelter to have a parking spot to unload their items that they might have for barbecue or birthday party. So concept B, sorry about this. Concept B was similar to concept A. During our iterations, we actually determined that if the perpendicular parking increased the counts so much that the loss of a little bit of park space really got us past that benchmark of hitting the 300 parking stalls. And so allocating this design of this parking lot, boat trailer parking, and boat launch kind of seemed to make a lot of sense. The differences with this one is that with RV parking, you actually enter through the four-way stop from the north. As you go into the RV park area, you back into your sites. There's 18 RV sites allocated to this. However, this does also increase the area where you might have a dog park and amenities area, just by the way that everything's laid out, and the back ends are to the northeast and the northwest. And so it creates a little bit of space closer to the entrance to Sand Creek, and also allocate some space for possible tent campsites as well, by allowing the amenities to go in that space versus as in the previous version, right there next to the marina. The other nice thing about the way that this is laid out is as you're leaving, it's a one-way. You enter the traffic, which at this point would only be boat trailer parking, maintenance staff, or ADA non-motorized boat parking, which is going down towards the plaza and the restroom. As that goes north, you will start encountering passenger vehicles through the roundabout, but the roundabout will control that. And so you have kind of a controlled escape kind of out of the park, instead of having the conflicts that you might have at the four-way stop. The other difference between this concept and the other one, and the concept A, is that we also include a smaller emergency vehicle hammerhead, which will allow emergency vehicles to access the site and get down to the snack shack area and be able to turn around in that location, but also increase your parking counts, so that way the parking counts will be allocated, so that we're increasing what's already there. And concept C, so like Jason had mentioned, this is one that I pulled together really quickly after there was comments made that there was some boat trailer or boaters and people who have issues with boat trailer parking, trying to have pull through and sites to be able to easily park their boats and their boat trailer. This concept, similar to concept B with the way that the RV is laid out, with the new expanded parking being that the double road or double loaded parking lot extended to a third row and kept more towards the north, and then having an access road going down to where the boat parking would be. This boat parking is a little bit more. It actually has 2 less spots than the last 2. However, because this is I put this together really quickly in the last couple of days, there is probably some refinement that could be done, and we could maximize the space. And there is some adjustments to be made, but the design is there, and it's late and it's sound. The other part too is that the access road does eat into beyond what the existing parking lot is currently at. So the last 2 concepts actually kept that edge of pavement and kept that from extending into the green space that's currently there and the existing swale that's currently there. And so what that does is it actually cut into that green space itself. So there is some limitations on what may happen with for the design for this particular layout. But with that, it reconfigures it in a way that the boat parking is closer to the boat launch, and it even more deconflicts the RV traffic and the boat trailer traffic.
Great. Thank you so much, Jeff.
Okay. Your staff report, I believe, presented the numbers around, just confirm that really quick. Well, actually, maybe while Jeff's still here, Jeff, do you mind just giving us the big picture about the number of spaces for vehicles, boat trailers, and the amount of green space impacted in all 3 concepts? I don't know if you've run that calculation for concept C yet, but I know for A and B, you had a comparison of, this many square feet of green space will be lost to new hardscaping, but we're adding this much green space because of all the new trees and swales within the parking lot. So I think that might be helpful for council. I don't know if you have other specific questions for Jeff about the concepts, please dive in. That's just one I know was important to the public when we presented these at the farmers market. They were, how much green space will be lost? Well, there will be green space lost in these concepts, but there's also green space added in these concepts. It's important to look at where we might lose some and where we might gain some. So Jeff, maybe you want to talk about that unless council has other questions.
Sure.
Yeah, I'm sure you have a lot, but is that important one you guys want to hear about? Green space?
Yes, please.
Sure. Okay.
Sure. So with all these concepts, I've got a dashed line on here showing where that existing parking areas at currently. And so within all of these areas, we've got a sliver here off the parking lot. There's a little bit off the western edge, right off the existing parking lot into the green space, not quite into the swale in both concept A and B. And then there's a sliver here, as mentioned as I was going through the concept A, in all 3 concepts where it turns into perpendicular parking, extending that parking area approximately 10 feet into the existing park. So there is small areas like that. Oh, and then it's then the extended boat launch and prep pull out. So with the extended boat launch, being able to pull in and back up perpendicularly makes it much easier for people launching boats. So those are the 3 big areas where you're losing landscape. Where you're gaining it is very much in the parts that are currently a sea of asphalt. So the parking area currently, there's hardly any landscaping within it. All 3 concepts incorporate some sort of green space or islands with trees to be able to break up the parking space, but also present possible stormwater management areas. So being able to put swales in those areas to mitigate stormwater, or even just vegetation buffer just to break up the area and keep passenger vehicles and pedestrians, within an area that they might be more likely to use versus within the both traffic area or with a majority of the traffic going through the roundabout. So there's been adds and losses in all three. So with concept A, in all three of these concepts, there's an approximate existing landscape loss to hardscape for concept A. It's 0.69 acres, so 30,000 square feet. The new landscape that's added within all those areas that is currently hardscape now, but adding back in as landscape is about 0.31 acres. So a little less than half of the acres loss is being converted back into landscape. So that leaves approximately 0.38 acres lost. Concept B, similar concept. You lose a little bit more just because we extended the roundabout and the passenger vehicle roundabout to beyond where we had it before. So it's a little bit more taking out in that retrospect, which is 0.71 acres. Existing or new landscape to be added back in would be 0.33 acres, which is about 0.38 acres lost. And then for concept C, this one, we still lose the sliver to the boat parking, lose it to the extended boat launch, and then the arm or the north parking end. The big one here is actually losing all that green space on the west side of the existing parking lot, which part of it is swale. And so that is 0.82 acres. What you gain back through all of the increases of adding landscape to where existing hardscape currently is 0.41. So half of that's gained back. So you basically lose 0.41 acres of existing landscape. Going back through the parking counts. So concept A, we had 309 stalls. The target was 300. Currently existing is 278 standard with 9 ADA. We do have a approximate of how many stalls we would put back in, which would take out of that existing 309 parking stalls. 6 of those stalls would be dedicated to staff in all 3 concepts. We also have 20 boat trailer parking spots. And right now, there's currently 10 dedicated. There are some that are also, correct me if I'm wrong, Jason, but I believe that there's an additional 5 or 10 that are actually parking spots when they're not being used as boat trailer parking. So what we're getting to is 20 dedicated boat trailer parking spots without the conflicts of passenger vehicles trying to park in those. With concept B, we have 331 stalls. And then the same 20 boat trailer parking spots. And then for concept C, we have 295 stalls. Target is 300 with 18 boat trailer parking spots, but 10 of those are pull through.
Just if I could jump in, Jeff. So the concept C has the fewest vehicle parking stalls, but still more than we have today, slightly more than we have today. It also has fewer boat trailer stalls, but the reason for that is because that pull-through boat trailer parking comes with a larger footprint. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So and the reason Jeff worked on this concept the last couple of days was, I would say by far the number one issue people had with the concepts A and B was the lack of pull-through boat trailer parking. So this concept preserves the 10 pull-through boat trailer parking spaces that we have today, not in their current location, but it preserves that number and then provides 8 pull in and back out boat trailer spaces. So yeah, it's going to be kind of first come, first serve among boaters. But I would say that in one of those V1 concepts that was presented 6 weeks or so ago, there was a concept that had back in boat trailer parking. And even our Parks Commission said that's not a good idea. Even though boaters all have to know how to back the trailer up, backing it into a parking space was considered a bridge too far. So We now have two concepts that have back out and pull in boat trailer parking, and then one that has a mix of pull through and pull in with back out. And I also want to let you know, I touched base with the State Department of Parks and Rec on Monday after Saturday's community outreach, and I shared the feedback we had gotten. And I said, will the lack of pull through boat trailer parking make us ineligible for a Waterways Improvement Fund grant? Is that a showstopper for them? And the response was very vague, but it was basically, you should listen to your citizens. In other words, they were not willing to say, we won't fund a project that doesn't have pull through boat trailer parking, but it was very much encouraged that we listen to the feedback we were getting. Which the feedback we've been getting was largely, we want some pull through boat trailer parking. So that's where Concept C, I think, I'm so thankful Jeff was able to make it work, because in my look at Concept C and B, I'm like, I don't know how we're going to have pull through boat trailer parking in this place without wiping out tons of vehicle parking. But Jeff managed to do it with only the loss of about, I think, 8 or 9 vehicle spaces compared to Concept A.
And
Thanks.
counselors, one thing that Jeff talked about a bit in these concepts, particularly Concept C, which is the one that's on the screen in front of you, is much of the stormwater that moves through this site currently is kind of between the RV park and the western edge of the parking strip. On this concept, that stormwater swale is basically removed. And in all three concepts, stormwater would have to be managed on this site. As a part of preliminary design, just haven't quite gotten there yet, but that's a consideration that will be discussed as the design moves forward, independent of which concept selected.
Thanks, staff. Thanks, Jeff. Thanks, Dan, for being here. Council, staff seeking direction. I propose we go around the horn and have folks call out their preference, what they like or dislike, or let's just go with what you like.
Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead, Council President Rule.
Well, we should listen to our public, I guess. I'm going to go with that. It seems like Concept C, I don't currently own a boat, but pull through is just simpler, even if you do have the capacity to back up your trailer. Sometimes you have small children screaming at you and all kinds of variables. And if you've ever gone down to Memorial on a busy weekend, it's take your popcorn. You can just sit there and watch all kinds of different family dynamics go on as boats come in and out of the water. So I like the smaller turnaround hammerhead over by the snack shack. I think we don't need more pavement there. My only comment would be the van camping and where the restroom locations were. I remember quite a long time ago that maybe we talked about having restrooms closer to the entrance and exit of the park. And so my only thought would be potentially looking at swapping where the vans go and where the restroom goes. I think it's a great idea to have a couple of tent camping sites. And that van camping also looks like it is the most approximated to the railroad tracks. So it's a lot easier to put a bathroom there, I guess. Other than that, great designs, great effort. So, thank you for pointing out, Eric, that no matter what design we go with, we will incorporate the appropriate and proper control of swales and storm runoff. So that is good to know that we don't have to worry about that no matter what concept.
Thank you, Councilor Rule. Who wants to go next? Councilwoman Schreiber. We'll just come down the line.
Thanks. Yeah, great job on this, guys. I appreciate all the hard work. I do have a lot of comments here. My first question is there a reason that the RV park has to occupy the current footprint? I mean, I understand why it was built the way it was when it was built, but now that we own all of the property, do we have to observe those property lines, or can we?
There's a couple reasons.
Okay.
One is that's what was described in a grant application.
Okay.
So after community engagement back in December and January around the RV park, some of the proposals that came up in our December 13th workshop was, hey, why don't you put RV sites way over here? So I actually reached out to the state and said, Sure, but you got to start all over. New grant application, new scope of work. We're not going to fund it with the grant that's been approved if you're not doing it within the footprint of the current RV park. Second is that LWCF boundary that exists. Not to say that you couldn't operate an RV park inside the City Beach Park proper, but it would probably require an amendment of our grant agreement from way back in the day when we funded improvements to City Beach with Land and Waterways Conservation Fund dollars, because that very strictly laid out what activities, what commercial activities for which money is exchanged could take place in that park. So the RV park is not within that boundary because it was owned by the Edgewater Hotel until 2020. So we wouldn't have to fiddle with any federal contracts that the city entered back in the 80s or 90s, as long as we keep it in its current footprint.
Gotcha. Thanks. That answers a lot for me because frankly, the current layout is problematic for a lot of reasons. And if we're going to spend millions of dollars on this park, I'd love to see a lot of those problems addressed. You know, number one being that entrance and exit over by the hotel should not be in that location if we could change it under any way to move that thing. You know, pulling out of there with a tour bus size RV and making a left turn into across lanes of traffic that you can't see coming underneath that bridge is obviously terrible. Even, you know, making a right turn into it is preferable. I like that option better. But even then, you're going to have RVs swinging out into the oncoming lane to make that corner. It's not wide enough for those big vehicles. I mean, even if it absolutely had to be coming from that north end, I would swap those parking spaces with the entrance and give yourself a little bit more space right there because it is already a congested area. I don't think the hotel is going to make it any less congested when it gets rebuilt. So if there was some way that we could move the entrance to the RV park to really anywhere else, it would be ideal. And if we could fudge those lines at least a little bit to make it a more workable design, I think we could get a lot better product than trying to shoehorn it into this weird lot line that exists. If it can't happen, it can't happen, but that's my feedback as I'm looking at this thing. As far as separating all the different types of traffic, I don't necessarily think that needs to be done, and it creates a lot of wasted space. You have duplicate drive aisles, you have landscaping that isn't really that useful because it's just there to separate the cars from the big vehicles. Whereas if you, for example, in this option C, which is, I think, the best option, if you were to put all of the boat spots, just continue them north from where the pull-through spots are now, and then continue the car parking south into where the nose-in boat spots are right now, then you'd have twice as many pull-through boat spots, and you'd have car parking closer to the amenities that people are using, the tennis courts, the volleyball courts. People could park right next to where they're going rather than parking way across the park and then having to walk because there's boat parking in the way. So I would love to see an option where those uses are mixed. And another reason is the exact reason that was just talked about with the existing conditions is that two parking spots that nose to each other can double as a boat pull-through spot when those boat parking spots fill up. So, you know, I don't see enough benefit from separating the uses, and I see a lot of benefit from intermingling them. Let's see. I'm a little concerned about the gazebo. We're getting rid of a lot of parking spots over by the gazebo, and that's a amenity that we have available for rent for events. Where are the people going to park for the events? You know, obviously non-motorized boat parking. How are we going to control whether that's non-motorized boat users parking there or just somebody who's looking to use the swim beach right there? I would love to see more parking over closer to those amenities, rather than putting it all the way across the park and then expecting everybody to walk all the way to the gazebo. If we were going to put in a turnaround, that's a good spot for a turnaround because even as it is right now, it's pretty difficult to turn around a small vehicle in there, and we're going to get rid of the little mini turnaround that there is. I think that's going to be a problem. So, in future iterations, I'd like to see a little bit more work done on that end of it. I realize this is very preliminary, so I'm not trying to get too specific, but so if you're going to move the curb on that south side of the lane going to the snack shack, I think that does make sense, to be honest. The west end of that's closest to the beach, move it far enough that you can have nose in spots on the north side of it too. Again, let's put the parking as close to the amenities that people are trying to get to as possible, rather than kind of shoehorning it in off in its own little parking lot over there. Put as much parking as close to the beach so people can pull right in, pull out their coolers, pull out their chairs, rather than, oh well, those few spots are full, so you're going to park in the main lot way far away. Let's see, what else do I have here?
Talking right here.
Yeah, these spots that are parallel parking right now, if you just move that south side just a little bit further down, that would give you enough space to put in nose in spots right there too. And that would give you another, I don't know, 5 or 10 spots.
Green space.
It does, but that's you could potentially reclaim some of the green space down here where this parking is encroaching. Plus, that's more usable. Let's see. Oh, landscaping in the parking lot. I already mentioned that it's not very usable landscaping. We're giving up open park space and we're gaining back like medians basically that aren't usable as park space. What if instead of that, we made slightly larger islands that maybe accommodated a picnic table or something? So somebody could pull right up next to a picnic table, pop out, have their picnic in the parking lot, because it's not such a tiny little median that it doesn't really have a purpose. Plus, with the stormwater, you could double those as stormwater swales and capture some of that stormwater in the parking lot in a space that's big enough for a picnic table and actually usable as park space. I love the tent spots. Let's keep them. I liked Council President's suggestion about the van camping. If you're going to put in a dog park, I would put it up in that same spot where the van camping and stuff would be. I don't think we want dog park in the middle of the park, because that might encourage people to, number one, bring their dogs in the park, and number two, then you have all the people walking their dogs across the big vehicle traffic to get to the dog park. And, dogs get loose. People are chasing them. Big vehicles don't have great visibility on who's in front of them if there's a little dog or something. Put it as far from everything else as possible, I think, just for logistics sake. As for the turnaround by the snack shack, both of the two options are kind of close to that swing set that we just put in. What if we moved it further west so that it kind of dipped, so it wasn't like a light bulb as much, and more let's see, the curb next to the snack shack would stay straight, but then the curb across from the snack shack would become more bulbous, and you could use that space kind of, there between the tennis court and the volleyball court, so that it's further away from where the kids are playing. Essentially, I'm trying to think, let's keep cars away from kids. I think that's. Oh, and then, I question the necessity of that traffic circle. Generally speaking, I like traffic circles, but it does eat up a lot of space. And again, it adds to our hardscaping, and it takes, we're counting the center of that traffic circle as green space, but nobody's ever going to touch that green space. That's not parkland that people are going to throw out a blanket on. That's basically consumed into vehicle infrastructure. It's not parkland anymore. So,
just one comment on that, Councilman Schreiber. The City Beach Park is within our urban renewal revenue allocation area, and one thought was to ask Sarah to fund an art installation inside that roundabout area as kind of a gateway, a welcome to City Beach. Could become over time an iconic Sandpoint public art location as well. Not anything elaborate or huge, but there are art dollars that, maybe 10 grand or so could be put towards a cool locally made art piece that goes in that area as a gateway feature.
I'm not opposed to that. I don't think it's a good enough reason to create one if we don't need one. And I would love to see an art fixture anywhere else in the park that people who aren't in a vehicle can enjoy. Because frankly, if you can only enjoy it from the window of a vehicle when you're trying to decide whether you're supposed to go right or straight or what's that car in front of me pulling out doing, I would much rather it be out in the middle of the park where somebody could walk up to it and actually stand there and enjoy it rather than basically be a embellishment for our vehicle-oriented park.
I will say another function, and Dan, you might weigh in, of the roundabout or the traffic circle at the entrance of the park is to give those people who don't need to do a full drive-through of the entire park the opportunity to turn around and do a pickup or drop off in that bus stop and drop off area in front of the future hotel, or even hotel guests who perhaps missed the turn for the hotel to turn around without having to do a full pass through of the entire parking area. As we know today, the City Beach Park is kind of an area for cruising. A lot of people just drive around in circles endlessly looking for parking. A lot of those people might not even be looking for parking. They're just down there cruising. But this would be a way to kind of siphon or funnel that traffic so that anybody who doesn't need to drive all the way through the entire park could get around and do a quick pickup or drop off at the entrance to the park, or even turn right and head up to the Ponderay Bay Trailhead or pull into the new hotel.
And if I can just add on to what Jason said, the main reason the traffic circle kind of came in all three of these concepts was that idea of separating the larger vehicles from the regular passenger vehicles, the folks with RVs and boats from the just general park visitors. We heard from the Parks and Rec Commission, the advisory group, kind of sub-members of the Parks and Rec Commission, and I think Jason heard some feedback from the open house on Saturday that, and from park staff, for that matter, that the shared use of, for example, on the kind of southeast corner of the existing parking lot or the future in this adjacent to the boat launch, having passenger vehicles crossing the locations where boats are backing up, launching, pulling out, trailers, all of that stuff, creates a lot of conflict. It also creates a lot of conflict in front of the park maintenance yard, kind of just to the west of there. So the traffic circle came primarily in separating those user groups, larger vehicles from smaller vehicles. There are, of course, drawbacks to it. Councilor Schreiber, you hit on a few of them. Part of what was considered in there was, as Jason or Jeff mentioned, having kind of a handful of dedicated spaces to the picnic shelter adjacent to there. But trying to minimize the amount of regular passenger vehicles that are crossing and interacting with the boat launch. In addition to having separate defined entrances and/or exits, depending on which orientation is selected for the RV park. The larger vehicles, particularly when you've got, folks with young kids getting out and going to the beach, is a major conflict point. That's what we heard from the Parks and Rec Commission, I think, pretty heavily, that's a concern. So that's where some of that kind of came from, with the traffic circle and the separation of uses.
Thanks, Eric. Kyle, if you don't mind, great comments. I love a lot of your comments. I'd love to just get through the whole council before we get into the weeds, if that's okay. Did you?
Yeah, I was done. Let's move on.
Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. Pam, what are your thoughts
You can
on?
withdraw what you're talking about.
I could.
Because it's hard to visualize when you're.
Yeah.
Councilwoman Duquette, what are your initial thoughts
Oh.
and feedback? We'll just go down the line and then we'll jump back into what we need to
Well,
do.
before concept C was there, I liked the entrance on B. The pickup and drop off, I'm confused. So there's a sign that says bus stop and beach drop off on the north.
Mhm.
And then are you talking about people going around the roundabout and letting off people? Or is that
Two locations.
all the way down at the one by the snack shack, you mean?
Yep, 2 locations for pickup and drop.
Okay, I would like that less. I am not into more parking spaces. I think we already have plenty of parking spaces. That's the problem with the beach right now, in my opinion, is too much parking. I don't want to see any green space lost, and I can't help that. Is there room for exiting boats while the two-way traffic on all of the concepts where the cars are coming in, A and B anyway, and the boats, like if the campers are coming in, I like that entrance on the first, it's confusing. Is there a four-way stop? Somebody mentioned, where is the?
There is
four-way?
not a four-way stop, a four-way intersection.
Okay, because somebody said four-way stop and I just wondered where that was going to be. And you're talking about where you first come in under the bridge and you
Correct.
go left to the hotel and up there. Okay. I would like to shorten that lengthy new structure with the parking and the turnaround, the hammerhead that goes by the snack shack. I don't think it needs to be that long. I wondered where the extra 33 stalls were on B that were not in A.
They're primarily in that location.
On that long, yes, yeah.
Where we moved that where we replaced the large cul-de-sac in front of the snack shack with a much smaller turnaround with a hammerhead.
Right.
And the
Everybody
hammerhead,
keep
keep in mind.
moving that for me. Thank you. I like that.
Yeah, so the 33 spots are mostly in front of the snack shack there.
Okay, and I think that can be shortened.
We do preserve a little bit more green space with this concept over by the swing sets, as Kyle said. And I will also say, I mean, if you read the survey results, the survey mirrored exactly what you just said, Pam. The survey results preferred the flow of RV traffic in concepts B and C that you see here coming in through the current entrance.
Right.
And they also preferred from concept A, the larger turnaround in front of the snack shack without extending that
Right.
asphalt area further to the south.
And so,
what
yeah.
you're describing is mirroring what the public said. And one other thing I want to point out, and this actually just dawned on me, Jeff, if you look back at concept C, talk about deconflicting users. And you made me think of this as well, Pam. The drive aisle from the traffic circle down to the boat launch in both concepts A and B, a lot of opportunities for conflict between boat trailers backing out of their boat trailer spaces and boat trailers leaving the parking lot or RVs leaving the parking lot. And this one, no conflict there. As you're leaving the RV park, you're not going to have to stop for a boat trailer backing out of a parking spot. You have smooth travel all the way up to the roundabout and you leave. And same thing, once you've loaded your boat back on, smooth travel all the way to the roundabout and you leave. You don't have to worry about stopping for boat trailers trying to back out.
You're talking C.
In C.
And so that whole east side of the parking, I don't see we need. Like I said, I think we have plenty of parking. That is the issue with the beach. There's so much parking that it's too crowded. And the other one on B, if you could look at B a minute. If the boats didn't back in, they just drove in and then back out. You know what I mean? Drive in with your trailer. They're not trying to back in their trailer there, are they?
They're pulling in and then backing out.
Right, okay.
So they launch the boat, leave
Right,
you're
right.
leaving.
And I do
and then-
remember all the boat people that were there Saturday were saying that's too much, too many runs up and down. I don't haul a boat, except for a kayak. And again, I think Deb or Kyle mentioned down there, the ADA and non-motorized boat parking. They're not going to leave those spaces for kayakers. They're just going to fill them. I would keep green space there and put your ADA parking spots there, or maybe one for a temporary stop to unload to go to the shelter. But otherwise, people are just going to park there. They're not going to care who you say that's for, unless it's ADA, because that's a law. I think keeping any non-pervious surface we have, keep it, don't move it more, I guess. Is the shelter gone? No, I saw that. Is the room at the bus stop entrance with Averill? I worry about that too. You talked about the congestion perhaps there. It's hard to tell how wide. I know the engineer knows how wide the street has to be to go back and forth. If the boating stalls are full, I wondered what is to stop them from utilizing the middle parking spaces that was in B. You know, because they could come in there and count those as drive-through if we didn't have a buffer in between those two. I say keep the trees by the railroad tracks for a buffer for sure. I would be opposed, again, eliminating any green space or cutting down trees that are already there. That cuts into the area we talked about for events also. The camping, yeah, I would like it to be a hike and bike in 10 spaces only, not parking and hauling your stuff across the parking lot to set up tent car camping kind of thing. And there's a lot of amenities for the bikes. We talked about that with Dan, to have like the plug-in chargers, bike racks, little lockers. I've looked online and seen a lot of pictures of that for the bikers. I would like it to be a hike, a bike in camping at that tent spot. I agree also with the move the van camping maybe down by there and the restrooms and showers up at the other end. Your last remark that you wrote, let me see. On your staff report, or on the comments, it says, if we are talking about beach, no, last remark about preservation of park character at the city beach. You can't have that and pave Paradise to put up more parking lots. I'm just saying. You can't keep that park character if you're going to put in 33 more parking stalls, in my opinion. And talking about the beach ideas, when we get to the beach, boat wash stations, check stations, please.
Excellent.
Sorry,
Thank you,
I-
Councilwoman Duquette. I'll just jump in along. Were you all done, Councilwoman Duquette?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Great comments. I echo some of the good points that have been brought up. I own a 30-foot RV and a big truck. I actually like this entrance. I'd much rather take a gentle, direct turn into the parking for the RVs rather than come and take a harder turn further in.
You're talking about B.
Yeah, B and C, just that you come right through the bridge and you have that gentle turn into the RV park, the larger radius. I look at that most recent GIS photo of our beach when it's just packed. And, my concern is with that dedicated only boat parking, there's going to be times when we don't have that many boats, and it seems like it's opportunity wasted. So I do like Councilman Schreiber's idea of sort of bring that boat parking, opening it up, mingling it, as he said, and trying to have it be a dual purpose parking, primary boats, but on busy days like in the GIS photo, it could certainly allow for cars. I too am concerned about any loss of green space down there. I love the idea of the nose in parking that Councilman Schreiber brought up. And I also agree that for the pavilion, when you have a big feast going on down there, people need to park to haul the hot dogs and everything else. So I think it's important to have as much parking towards the pavilion as possible. Love the tent camping and dog park. I agree shouldn't be next to the water. And I like the idea of moving the van spaces maybe to where the dog park is. With that, Councilman Torres.
Thank you. I like B and C mainly because the flow of traffic. I do like that you can pull in immediately. I did hear Kyle say that might be a difficult turn, but I do like that as opposed to the further one where it kind of mixes in with all the boaters. It's kind of a clean in and clean out type of situation. The parking over by where the actual swim beach is a little concerning. I mean, mainly because I've parked in the main parking lot, had to carry my paddleboard and my daughter's paddleboard all the way over to that side. And that's a hike when you're carrying a lot of stuff. So just wanting to be aware of that or some sort of timed drop zone or something to where you can go in and take out your equipment and then you can go to your parking spot. And then my question, I guess, from the roundabout, can an RV with a boat fit through that? Do we think? Yep. Okay. And then all of that, and then with the roundabout at the end, can an RV with a boat turn that radius to get out of there if they get stuck in?
Are you talking about on the eastern edge of the
Yeah.
park?
Mhm.
Yes, they could in either scenario. The one that's on the screen right now, concept B, is you can kind of see that hammerhead movement. So it's a little bit of a smaller kind of cul-de-sac.
Oh.
And the hammerhead portion is for emergency access, but of course a larger vehicle could use it. On the concept A or C with a larger cul-de-sac, they're sized to accommodate those vehicles.
And then for me, I mean, I did hear that the mingling, but I do kind of like how that island sits there to not allow boats to get in, mainly to establish that we have parking for people. But I do understand the concept of utilizing every single parking spot we have. But I do kind of support the separation a little bit, just because I've just run into the parking with the boats and stuff like that, and it seems to me that they're always just fine, but the regular parking is always hard to difficult to find, for me at least. And I like the tent campsites and parts. I don't even know which concept that is, but otherwise, yeah, I think that the conversation today is the flow of what we're looking at. And from my perspective, that flow would be that the RVs would pull right directly into the RV park. That's it.
Thanks, Councilman Tate.
Echo what Council President Rule had said. The people have spoken, and I appreciate that we can give the, the public as much influence in these decisions as possible. And I appreciate the other councilors' critiques of some of the things that they could see as issues, but I also trust the engineering and the planning and all the people that we employ and we pay to do this kind of work. So I like all the options. I think no one's going to be happy about every single option. So I'm learning that as being a council person. So I appreciate your work, and that's all I got. Thanks.
And counselors, one thing to highlight, Jason mentioned it to start off. If council's ready to take action on both the RV park kind of orientation and the parking today, great. If not, the thing to keep our schedule on track is the RV park primarily to start construction this fall. The alignment and orientation and overall function of the parking is conceptual, so that can, we can still be kicking around ideas. But the key part is what's the orientation of the RV park? So are you accessing it as you currently do, coming under the bridge, taking a hard right immediately, or are you going into City Beach proper first and then kind of looping around and coming in? Those are kind of the key, I think, components to consider.
Were we going to put like
Thanks
some
for that
sort of
clarification,
arm?
Eric.
Sorry.
Oh, you're fine. Councilman Torres, did you have a-
Was there going to be some sort of arm? I know they talked about it, like, so when the RV park or the RV folks or enter or leave, is there going to be something that cannot allow for others to get into that space?
I don't think so. It's certainly something that could be considered, but for example, in concept C or B that's on the screen right now, if you enter the RV park as you do currently, if you're leaving the RV park and looping out into kind of City Beach, that would be signed one way only. That's not intended to be two-way. We don't want non-RV users using the RV park as a cut through, for example.
And a do not enter on the, where they're exiting out. do
Correct.
not enter
One way,
coming
do
in
not
from-
enter. Yes.
Council members, we have a couple more items. First is public comment, and then to give staff direction. So if everyone's agreed, I'd love to enter the public comment period.
Mr. Mayor, I just had one question more for Eric. Is it possible to move the EV charging over and put the entrance so it's a straight line getting in there instead of that jog?
The challenge there would be our new lift station that we constructed. Unless I'm not.
No, I don't hear.
understanding where you're
I'm
asking.
the EV charging would just go where the drive entrance is, and then you would drive through where the parking spots are for the EV, like Councilman Schreiber suggested. But I don't know if we can move that infrastructure. That's my question.
I don't know. That would be something we'd have to look into.
Okay,
We like it, Ken. We were just visiting with some EV charging folks yesterday about this site.
because to me, it seems like it would be an easier turn for a bigger vehicle to do that. You also, it just makes sense to me that that's.
Are you
straight-
saying kind of pass through in this concept, for example?
Right where the
roundabout?
icon is, where it says EV charging, if that's was the entrance and where you drive in right now, where the parking spots went.
To do that, you would have to basically enter at the roundabout, because we do have our new lift station just north of there.
Just one
Yeah, he's
point. I
not
think
under-
there's probably room to do what Councilman Rule's suggesting because the lift station is a little further to the east.
Yes.
But then you're creating an awkward intersection, and I'm sure traffic engineers'
Offset.
minds go crazy when you no longer have a four-way intersection. Rather, you have a three-way intersection with another one-way intersection. 50
Okay, so you're looking at it as a four-way intersection, even though it's a one-way entrance.
Maybe Dan, do you want to talk about that? What? is
Yeah,
there-
thank you, Jason. You took the words out of my mouth. This is Dan with
Okay.
HMH. Yeah, to move that intersection from where it is now, or move the entrance to the RV park from where it is now to where the EV charging is shown, you will create an offset intersection, much like what we have at Bridge Street and Church downtown. This still is a two-way in and out for the EVs and for lift station vehicles, any service vehicles for the city, for example. It is a one-way for RV traffic, but it
Okay.
still is a two-way for other vehicles. And to move that, we would be creating an offset intersection, which is less than ideal in any traffic engineering.
That makes sense to me now, why you did it that way.
I'd also just point out, when you have to make a harder right turn pulling a long trailer, you actually have to pull out left into the oncoming traffic. So as depicted here, it just seems a little bit easier as a trailer driver to make that turn into the RV park. You don't have to swing out into the oncoming traffic as far to make that hard turn, but.
And one thing to add, while all of these are dimensioned, Jeff did a great job drawing these up to true dimensions in terms of parking spaces. And we've done some rough turn movements. We're going to refine these as design goes on, and some of these openings may have to widen up a little bit. Some of the parking spaces, particularly the nose-in parking spaces, may need to widen up a little bit just for ease of backing out of those, making it a little more practical. So this is a good overall concept and guidance, but through design, this will inevitably be refined.
Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead, Councilman Trevor.
I just wanted to chime in on that discussion and suggest perhaps we move the EV charging and lift station maintenance access into the main parking lot and out of the RV parking entirely, which would then maybe free up more spots for van parking, tent camping, another RV spot. Just a thought while you guys are refining this.
I'd love to move on to hear what the public has to say. So we'll come back and revisit this in a minute, Council. Next, we'll proceed with the public comment regarding the RV park, beach parking lot portion of the meeting. I'd like to make everyone aware that the city does have a policy on public meeting decorum. The rules are posted just outside the chamber's entry doors. In summary, I ask that everyone please be pleasant and respectful, not make derogatory statements about others, including city staff, not be disorderly and disruptive, no calling out, clapping, or holding up signs. Public comment time is for comment only, no questions or debate. You're welcome to contact me during regular business hours if you have any questions or concerns. This is the only public comment time that will be offered this afternoon. When it's your turn to speak, please state your name and whether you reside in the city limits. Each speaker will have up to 3 minutes. Madam Clerk, has anyone signed up to speak about the RV park and city beach parking lot engagement?
Mr. Mayor, we have nobody signed up.
All right, and that will conclude the public comment portion of this meeting. Moving on to item number 10, old business. We'll now move on to old business where staff is seeking council direction on the RV park and city beach parking lot for next steps. I think we've all heard they need to keep this project on track, just a general support for the alignment of the RV park, the angled south versus angled north, and we'll refine the rest. They've heard a lot of good feedback. So I guess I'll start this by saying, are any council members opposed to the alignment as depicted in concept C, understanding that placement of entry, EV charging, lift station, and restroom and tents are going to be refined, but just that alignment with the slots angled to the northeast and northwest? Anyone have a problem with that?
Mr. Mayor, no, but it's hard to eliminate the parking when you're looking at the design. The parking is making an effect, having an effect on the RV park itself. And I'm just saying, I understand we're just looking at the RV park, but it's hard to get rid of the design of the parking.
It is.
Because C just doesn't have any room in there. There's no extra green space.
Yeah, and I think we
But
could
that's
just
because of
convey
the
to them that
parking.
you know, as they proceed, give an extra buffer on the east side of the RV parking spaces to address future parking lot
So
design
you're just asking if we like coming in,
Yep.
making a right turn.
and backing into your RV spots as depicted.
Could I see, I have it. Let me look. Are they all back in?
No, the first one, A, was not.
It was not, right? And I would
It was
also,
back in just the other direction.
Yeah, the other direction. I'm sorry, you're correct.
I would like to make one comment that whatever we come up with, we get to show the public again before final design.
Yes. Yep.
And
On
this
that.
will also
Since-
continue to be worked on with the different committees and commissions.
Okay. Yeah, I was thinking bike ped would be
Yeah.
for the parking and sustainability also. for-
Yep, we plan to bring the concepts for the parking lot and boat launch to multiple committees and commissions, including.
Okay, so all
sustainability
we're
and
looking at
FedEx.
is entering and exiting.
Yep, we need to know the direction of flow for the RVs.
Okay.
Does council support the concept as shown in B and C as far as the flow of traffic? I think we heard some great feedback. Maybe look at it, if we're going to do a little dog area, move it to the north, further away from the water. It draws less of the park. Really, it's supposed to be for RV. These are RV amenities, so a
Right.
dog area would be for RV guests who have their pets with them. The shower and restroom facility, we'll look at maybe moving that to the north. And maybe van camping, replacing those two amenities on the south. Does everybody like the idea of tent camping? That's for
I-
bicyclists
I
and
can bike.
long distance hikers
Yep.
and things like that. Yeah.
Not car
Mhm.
camping,
Okay, yeah.
parking.
I would, we can still have discussion, but I would make a motion to direct staff to do exactly what Jason said, and then we can discuss anything that's different.
Motion by President Rule,
You need a second?
Second.
Okay, great.
second by, I'm going to give to Torres. All right, motion to proceed with the alignment as concept B or C and as augmented by Director Welker's comments. All those in favor?
We have some discussion.
Oh,
Yeah,
sorry.
we can have some.
Yep.
Discussion.
Mr. Mayor,
Go ahead.
I
Councilman
guess
Brewer.
my main question to Mr. Welker is, when are we going to find out, what's the timeline do you think, are we going to find out if those drive-through parking spots are going to give us the grant or not? Or what are we thinking? Because
Well,
that's helping me
So,
with my
and
decision.
the reason the Parks and Rec director at the state wouldn't give me a yes or no answer is it's not her decision. It's a grant committee made up of about 10 or 12 representatives from every district across the state. So I will continue to communicate with my local representative on that committee and see if I can't get a pulse as far as whether pull-through parking is going to be a deal breaker. I know that the Waterways Improvement Fund will make their decision based on what's best for boaters. So that's another thing. Like I view this as a three-phase project. We've got the RV phase funded, the Waterways Improvement Fund, and this is, you might recall, I applied for this grant 2 years ago, was rejected for the following reasons. You don't have a refined concept, and you're not charging for boat launch fees. Boat launch fees are viewed favorably by the state because it allows us to fund maintenance of these facilities. We've never had revenue to maintain the boat launch. So starting today, we're collecting boat launch fees. That's going to be included in my grant application in January. And by December, we'll have a much further refined concept. But the additional, I think, thing they're going to be looking for is, do we want to fund this project if it's not optimal for boaters? And I was wondering in my head, do we have any pull in and back out parking at a War Memorial Field boat launch? And in fact, every boat trailer spot there is a pull through parking spot. And that was a project funded by the IDPR grant as well. So I wasn't on the team 6-7 years ago when that was designed, but I'm guessing that was a design driver for that project as well. So I think some version of C is probably what we're going to end up with, where there's some pull through boat trailer parking, based on the vibe I'm getting from the state in the last couple of days. Yeah.
And that might be a good thing to share with public.
Yep.
Concept C.
Oh,
since
yeah.
we
Oh, absolutely. No,
didn't see
I
it.
think we're going to refine concepts B and C going forward, because those are the two that reflect the direction of travel of RVs that you've supported. And then we'll fine tune the relationship between all the other users of the park.
Perfect. Thank you.
And will we talk about the dog park there? Because if there's a dog park just for the trailer renters, I see that people are gonna think it's a dog park for beach dogs. I don't know how we
And I think it's important that,
get away. from that.
you're absolutely right. I think there is concern there. I think maybe dog park is, a little bit too strong of a term. The intent is a small enclosure.
Right.
Not a dog park like
trailer,
many of
yeah.
us, right?
Camping,
Not
yeah.
a large
Okay.
1 acre dog park or anything like that. A small enclosure that, folks
Bathroom.
can
Okay,
take their dogs out from the RV.
maybe
The
they have to
pet
open the gate
waste
with a key.
walk area.
When discussing this with the design team, we kind of talked about some of the like rest areas along I-90.
Right.
Where there's an enclosed dog area. So if your
Right.
dog's been pent up in your car or your camper all day, let it out, let it off leash, just run around in this small area,
Okay.
pick up its waste. It's not a full service dog park, more like a let your dog stretch its legs area.
Perfect.
All right, council, any more discussion?
Yeah, I definitely think the southbound travel through the RV park makes more sense than the alternative. Again, my feedback would just be move that entrance as far east as you possibly can. I hadn't considered what Director Walker said, which was move the entrance over to the traffic circle south of the lift station. That kind of makes sense too. And maybe you could change the RV charging lot into more RV spaces. I don't know. But I really don't want anything near that bridge intersection right now. It's already a nightmare and it's just going to get worse. And then, yeah, if there's any ability to fudge the lines so that it's not forced into that one suboptimal lot line, then I would support that as well.
Excellent. This motion in a second. This will be a roll call vote.
Counselor Duquette,
Yes.
Counselor Tate,
Yes.
Counselor Torres,
Yes.
Counselor Schreiber,
Yes.
Counselor Rule.
Yes, and my one comment is that visually, I did not realize that using the hammerhead over by Martha's Snack Shack, of course, would move more pavement out there. So I will go back to my, on that comment to say the bigger on the current pavement is better to save green space. So,
Thank you.
yes.
Mr. Mayor, motion passed.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. With no further business for the council, this meeting is
No, there's so much.
adjourned at 4:44. Go USA.